okay? A little creepy, and not in a hot, fun way. A little stalkery, and not in a hot, fun way, which is incredibly disappointing. Hey, my name is Kaylee. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. This is Read, Rant, Review, where, you guessed it, I read books and I do rant reviews. I give you a beat by beat, chapter by chapter breakdown of a book that you guys voted for. Last week, I was feeling something different. I was feeling maybe traditional romance. If you're new to the channel, hey, I have pretty reoccurring series where I do monster romances, dark romances, or we unpack casual classics where I tell you about classical books in like a super casual, friendly setting. I haven't done a traditional romance in quite a while, and so I said, let's do it. I put up a couple things in the poll, and last week, you little crazy heads gave a 43, 14% split. 43%, I had 4.4 thousand people, which is one of the higher amount of people that have voted in a poll before. 43% voted for The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, which is what we'll be unpacking today. The other 43% voted for The Selection by Kiera Cass, I believe is her name. And the last voted for the second book in the Twisted Love series by Anna Huang. So with it being a tie, I have already bought The Selection, at least the first book. I don't know if I'm going to read all of them, but at least the first book, I bought it. You will be getting a rant review on that book at some point in the future, near future, possibly, maybe, I don't know. But in the meantime, today we're going to be unpacking The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This book was published in 2021, has 448 pages, which, as far as I'm concerned, is at least 100 to probably 150 pages too many. And currently on Goodreads, it is sitting at a 3.81 with 633,000 ratings, which is a lot. That's insane. I'm going to go ahead, read you the book description, give you a couple of disclaimers, give you a content or trigger warning, and we'll dive right in. Before we do that though, I do just have one little tiny advertisement for myself. Hear me out. In the description box below, there are links to Spotify, where I post the videos of these rant reviews, and Apple Podcasts. I now have all of my rant reviews available in podcast form on Apple Podcasts. So if you prefer to listen on one of those platforms, those are linked in the description box below. And of course, this channel has some merch. I'm working on expanding it, but I do have a couple of stickers available through Etsy, also linked in the description box below if you'd like to support the channel. Now, for the book description. I don't think anybody could sum it up better than Lexi, aka Newly Nova, one of my absolute favorite booktubers. I trust their judgment and their recommendations wholeheartedly. I have never aligned and agreed with so many ratings and reviews and such as them. They gave it a 2-star and said, I can fix him, but make it Walt Disney grandkid fan fiction. I quite literally could not summarize it better myself. So the book description that is published on Goodreads. Rowan, the main male character. I'm in the business of creating fairy tales, theme parks, production companies, 5-star hotels. Everything could be all mine if I renovated Dreamland. My initial idea of hiring Zara was good in theory, but then I kissed her. Things spiraled out of control once I texted her using an alias. By the time I realized where I went wrong, it was too late. People like me don't get happy endings, not when we're destined to ruin them. And then Zara, the main female character, after submitting a drunk proposal criticizing Dreamland's most expensive ride, I should have been fired. Instead, Rowan Kane offered me a dream job. The catch? I had to work for the most difficult boss I'd ever met. Rowan was rude and completely off limits, but my heart didn't care. At least not until I discovered his secret. It was time to teach the billionaire that money couldn't fix everything, especially not us. The Fine Print is the first book in a series of interconnected standalones following 3 billionaire brothers. Need I say more? Dude, it's so bad. It's literally, I try not to be negative. If you're new to my channel, hey, I try not to be like ultra hateful to the things that I read. I try to find the good things, right? I pull out the good things. I make some good commentary. I try to speak positively or as positively as I can about the various books as I go through them. But sometimes it's incredibly hard to speak positively. In this particular book, I felt it was incredibly hard to speak positively about a unethical billionaire. The entirety of this book is literally just the main female character teaching this billionaire man a little bit of empathy. That, like, working class people are in fact real human beings. And I wish I was like exaggerating or being like some type of way about that, but that's literally what the book is. So 450 pages. It got repetitive and it got annoying in that sense that like you're literally telling a grown man to like think of other people before he takes an action, and that maybe money doesn't mean everything. Girl, get up. We'll get there. Okay, so that's the summary. That's what we're getting into. That's what you're about to hear me yap about for the next like hour to 2 hours, right? So the first disclaimer is obviously this is going to contain all of the spoilers. The second disclaimer is this is not for Lauren Asher. This review, it's not for the author. It's not for friends, fans, family, or stans. If you liked this book or have some relation to the author or have some vested interest, I'll catch you in the next one. Don't make it weird. I literally am here to crack some jokes, have a good time, a little gossipy sesh. I'm literally going to be doing my makeup and having a giggle. Don't make it weird, okay? And finally is a content or trigger warning that I like to provide on all of my videos so you know what we're getting into, just in case there's something that maybe you don't want to hear about today. Really the biggest things is that there is a abusive parent, there's death of a parent, and there is some very, very brief mention of ideation of ending one's own life, as well as some infidelity, not like between the main characters, but like past infidelity. And I think that's it. Generally, this is not too dark of a book. I say that as I just rattled off a handful of items, but in general, it's not like horrific. It's not a dark romance. I would not categorize it as such. Without further ado, let's begin. In chapter 1, we meet our main male character. This is told from his POV, and he's currently attending his grandfather's funeral. His grandfather, in the real world, would be considered Walt Disney. Homie has been in a coma for the last 3 years, finally died, which is a horrible way to phrase that, I understand, but it is. So, sorry. So he's at the funeral. He is not taking it very well because he was very, very close with his grandfather. And also the last time that he and his brothers were at a funeral, it was their mother when they were children. And it was just like a very, very tragic loss. And so it is very sensitive, very not great time for Rowan and his 3 brothers. His 2 other brothers, you're asking? We have Rowan, Declan, and Callahan, or Cal, and we'll get there, don't you worry. So after their grandfather's funeral, after he passes away, the 3 brothers receive a letter. Said letter was written, obviously, before the grandpa went into a coma, so this is like 3+ years old, and each are letters from the grandpa saying, hey boys, love ya, get your life together. Here's a list of things that you need to do in order to unlock your 18% shares of Dreamland, right? Or the equivalent of Disneyland, Disney World, right? So Rowan, who is the youngest brother who this book is about, he is supposed to become the creative director of Dreamland for a minimum of 6 months to have this like big renovation project and invest in the Dreamland and make it, I don't know, whatever it was supposed to be, make the grandpa's dreams come true. The middle brother, Cal, or Callahan, he is supposed to reach out to a woman from his past named Alana and like rekindle their relationship. And the oldest brother, Declan, is supposed to get married and have a kid so that he can become the CEO of said company. In chapter 2, Rowan is headed to Florida. I feel like we're not even trying to hide the fact that this is a complete ripoff for Disneyland. So he shows up in chapter 2. He shows up to Disneyland, or Dreamland, and decides that he's gonna crash a staff meeting to observe how the managers and the employees work together. He sneaks into one of the back rows. He's enjoying the presentation, the way that they're speaking, and then all of a sudden, a little girly pop sneaks into the back, and she's late. And he's like, who in the F could this possibly be, showing up 10 minutes late to this meeting? This is so obscene. This is not appropriate. I can't believe, who in the heck could this possibly be? Turns out it's the love of his life, which, like, of course it is, right? Her name is Zara. She sits right next to him. She obviously has no idea that this is the crown prince of the Dreamland estate. Sits down next to him. She's all loud and clicky clacky with her crazy colored outfit and her backpack with one too many keychains and all of her pins that she's wearing and all of this like nonsense, right? Because God forbid we have a main female character that isn't a complete manic pixie dream girl. She's just this little quirky, crazy girl that instantly catches his attention and instantly drives him crazy because he takes life so serious and she's just over here goofing off, not taking anything serious whatsoever. The manager who is speaking and giving this presentation at this particular meeting says some big changes are happening at corporate that we will be reviewing over the next week. They're going to be keeping a close eye this quarter. Great, just what we need. Zara mumbles under her breath as she scribbles in her notebook. You have a problem with corporate? I'm not sure what I expect to hear or why I even care. She laughs to herself, and then I'm hit with another weird feeling in my ribcage. Who doesn't have a problem with corporate? Why? Because the Kane Company board is filled with a bunch of old men who sit around talking about how much money they've made without actually discussing the important matters at hand. And you're an expert on board meetings all of a sudden? It doesn't take a genius to draw conclusions based on how they treat us. And how is that? Like we don't matter as long as we make them billions of dollars every year. If she notices my glare, she seems unbothered by it. Aren't employees paid not to complain? She directs her smile at me. Sorry, that'll cost the company extra. And seeing as most of us make minimum wage, silence isn't part of the deal. Her voice is light and airy, which annoys me more. They have a little teensy bit more back and forth before all of a sudden the manager who's giving the presentation calls Mr. Kane to the front of the meeting room to introduce him to everybody and reveals exactly who he is. And so Zara, realizing that she has been talking mad crap about the company and giving mad attitude to the guy who is literally the new creative director. And she is horrified, and all she can do is laugh, which I found to be the most relatable thing I've ever read in one of these books, because I know that's all I would be able to do. Oh my God, all I can ever do is laugh when I feel uncomfortable. I've never related to a character more. As we go into chapter 3, we get Zara's POV for the first time, and this is after the meeting. She is incredibly upset by the exchange that she had with him, and she goes home to tell her roommate, Claire, all about it. Claire is her BFF. They're roommates. Claire is essentially like her second sister adopted into the family type thing. You know how it is, which I love. Again, I love female friendships. I love strong family relationships and dynamics, especially when it's the female characters in the books that has a very like strong support system. That is definitely one of the pluses of this book, that the main female character has a strong support system. So anyway, she goes home to her apartment that night and she's complaining to Claire about everything that's going on and reflecting about how it's Rowan's fault that the employees at Dreamland are suffering as much as they are. He first gained attention after being the tiebreaker vote against increasing minimum wage for the employees. Because of him, the Kane Company has continued to pay their employees pennies for their hard work. His reign of terror was solidified over the years. He's cut back on employees' paid vacation days, swapped out our health insurance plan for one that hurts rather than helps, and laid off thousands of employees. And so Claire, her friend's response, well, tell me, does he smell as good as he looks? No. Well, yes. she's thinking internally. But I'm not about to tell Claire that. Not only did Rowan smell amazing, but his company photo doesn't do him justice. Rowan is beautiful in an unapproachable kind of way, like a marble statue surrounded by a red velvet rope, tempting me to cross into forbidden territory for one single touch. And I said, "Halt, woman! Shut up! Shut up!" I have this reaction throughout like most of this book where I said, get up. Get up. Be about your business. Don't sit here and critique in one breath and be like, oh my God, this billionaire piece of crap taking away the vacation days and health insurance and, you know, financial security of my coworkers. But oh my God, he smells so good. Shut the freak up. You can't do both. Be about your business. You cannot do both, woman. I cannot even fathom, like, just reading this book. I'm like, dude, I don't even know how you would develop feelings for a man like that. I don't care how beautiful he is or how kind he treats you. If a man is mean to the waiter, he's a bad human being, right? And that's just like a waiter. I'm not even talking about people that he's like actually responsible for. I don't give a shit if a man is nice to you. If a guy that you're talking to is mean to the waiter, block him. It's so freaking like infuriatingly irritating to me that this woman even gave him any type of time of day. Zara goes on about her day, and this is the next day, a day after, I don't freaking know, whenever the heck it is. She's going on about her business and ends up going to work. She works at the like bippity boppity salon. She gives makeovers to the little kids to make them into little princes or princesses or whatever they want to be. And this particular day, after this encounter with Rowan, she has a little girl that comes in who uses a wheelchair. This is important later, I promise you. It's not some like random virtue signaling, although it kind of feels like that sometimes in this book. It's not necessarily the case. She's helping this little girl. While she's doing so, one of her coworkers pulls her aside and they say, hey, I just want to let you know Rowan came by and he's talking to our manager. He's asking a lot of questions about you and it's kind of weird. I wanted to give you a heads up about what's happening because it's just, you know, strange. And Zara goes home that night kind of worried about her job and what she's going to do and what happens if her manager like sold her out or said that she was a crappy employee, etc. etc. In chapter 4, we're back to Rowan's POV, and he is reflecting about how much he hates being back at Dreamland because this just reminds him of all of his horrible memories that will inevitably be used to justify his crappy behavior and his crappy treatment of the main female character, as is with all of these freaking books. In this particular chapter, though, he's meeting with the park's head creators, which is this universe's version of the Imagineers. And he meets with them and he says, look here, guys, we have 6 months, $10 billion. We're going to invest it. We're going to flip this park and make it something crazy. And I expect a 5% return on investment. And so the creators, it's literally 2 of them, they push back and they say, hey, I don't know if we're really going to be able to do that. Can we open up the annual submissions for park suggestions? So they do this like annual process, this annual competition where everybody in the park, like all of the workers, are able to submit, you know, recommendations, ideas, whatever that they have. And so these creators say, hey, can we do that at least? Totally got it. We'll try to make what you're wanting to happen. We'll try to make it happen. However, we can't really start from scratch because that's a lot to ask. Like at the bare freaking minimum, can we at least open these submissions early? He begrudgingly says, yes, I suppose. Because to him, he's like, obviously, I have a team of creators that already work for me that are the smartest, most creative people in the world. Why would we waste our time? But you know what? Actually, maybe that's a good point because somebody might think out of the box. Okay. So anyway, he agrees to this. And at the very, very end of the chapter, he gets a phone call from his father. It's really just used to emphasize the fact that he grew up in an abusive home. I'll go ahead and tell you now, it doesn't really ruin anything. So, right, we have the grandfather who was the creator, the founding father, the main head dude of Dreamland. His son is Rowan's dad. Rowan's father married a wonderful, wonderful woman. They had a wonderful, happy marriage. They had the 3 sons. Everything was great. Super happy family, hanging out in Dreamland, doing all these wonderful things. His mother, at a very young age, ended up, I believe, getting cancer and like dying slowly over the course of like a couple of years, passed away at a young age. It was incredibly tragic. It was really, really hard on the boys. It was hard on the family. And the father, after losing the love of his life, became a abusive, substance abusing, and like physically and emotionally, verbally abusive father. A horrible situation to be in. So this is just kind of laying like the groundwork of that and the groundwork of these unattainable expectations that the father has for the boys. And cut to chapter 5. We're back in Zara's POV. She has seen the call that went out for these submissions, for these proposals for the park. Her best friend / roommate Claire is trying to talk her into submitting something because she says, hey, like you're so incredibly talented and you should use this competition to help you move forward in life. And you know, this will help you get over this like crazy hump that you've been dealing with in this depression episode that you've been in for 2 years. And yet again, I'll just tell you now because it's drawn out for no freaking reason and it's incredibly annoying. Zara, 3 years ago, submitted a plan during the same exact thing when they opened up these ideas for all of the park workers to submit something. She submitted an idea. It initially got rejected. The following year, her boyfriend at the time, Lance, stole her idea with some changes and improvements, submitted it with his name only, did not give her any credit for said submission, and said submission was accepted. And it became Nebula Land, which is like an ongoing project at the park that is currently being funded and created. And so ever since that happened, and Lance cheated on her, because God forbid he just be like a piece of crap that steals her ideas, he also cheated on her. And so ever since that happened 2-3 years ago now, she's just been dealing with like horrible, obviously like self-image issues, as well as, you know, like motivation to do anything or feeling like confident in anything that she's doing because of what he took from her. And so her friend Claire says, girly pop, get it together. Go ahead and submit an idea. Let's do it. That night, Zara, she's tip-tapping away on her little laptop. She has a glass of wine or 2 or 3 as she's working on this submission because she wants to try to, you know, get in her little flow state of creativity and get past this block that she's had. Writes up this like crazy proposal idea, most of which is critiquing the Nebula Land project, the idea that her ex-boyfriend stole from her, right? And altered and submitted and whatnot. That night when she goes to sleep, she hits save on this submission because she'll review it in the morning when she sobers up. But in chapter 6, the next morning when she wakes up, she realizes, holy freaking crap, I hit submit, not save. I literally just submitted a drunken, rambling rampage about how stupid the like most expensive investment that this park has had in years is. A complete and utter critique of this thing. She's like, I'm literally going to be fired. I'm going to lose my job over this. And there's nothing she can do. Because as she's in the middle of like complaining about this to Claire and like freaking the ever-loving F out and trying to figure out who they can call to try to like, you know, claw this submission back, she gets a phone call from Rowan Kane, the creative director of Dreamland, our main male character, gets a phone call from his secretary. And the secretary calls her and she says, hey, come here ASAP. He needs to see you in his office. So she does, fully expecting that she's about to get fired. But instead, she rolls up into Rowan's office and he slides a paper across her desk. And it is a contract for her to get a promotion and to become a creator. He said, your submission was pretty bold and I respect that. I'm gonna make you a creator. She says, oh my God, there's no way. I don't deserve that. That's like such a crazy title. I can't do this. And he says, we're literally not leaving this room until you sign this paper. Hello? Okay. She signs on the dotted line and look at that. She now has her dream job and she really appreciates this little hottie toddy with a rockin' body. She really appreciates his blunt demeanor, right? Like how straightforward he is and how like no nonsense, you know, whatever you want to call it. It's opposites attract. It's enemies to lovers. It's blah, 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 with like instant attraction, like not even sprinkled, maybe lathered on top of it. I wouldn't even consider this enemies to lovers because of how instantly attracted that they are to each other. But whatever. What do I know? That is like emphasized in chapter 7, where we're in Rowan's POV and he's watching Zara as she is reading over this contract like multiple times. And he's like, why are you reading it over? She's like, well, I just don't ever want to put my name on something without fully understanding the contract, you know, like fine print. And he's like, you're not worth having fine print over. She says, okay, I'm still going to read it though. And again, we're back to the point of the way that this man talks to her could never be me. Could literally, I am a one strike you're out policy type of girly. My inner monologue is not strong enough. If you say something negative to me, every single time I look at you, I will hear the negative thing that you said to me. And that is all that will repeat in my brain. So be it a, you know, maybe a side effect of some type of like perfectionism or like wanting to be good enough for people or like, I don't know, some like deep-seated lack of confidence. Whenever I talk to somebody and they like speak ill of me or they say something negative to my face, that's all I'll ever hear, which instead of me feeling bad about it, I've actually turned it into me hating you forever because you're just a piece of shit. So talk about coping mechanisms, I guess. It couldn't be me. Long story short, you say something like that, I'm not worth fine print. Dead. Dead on arrival, my guy. What do you mean? Get the fuck out of my face. I'm not even gonna sign your paper. I thought you were kind of hot at first, and I thought we were maybe like flirty bantering a little bit, and I was kind of into it, but no. Actually, you're roadkill. Sorry. Not sorry. Regardless, she doesn't see it this way though, because she's like, oh my God, that's kind of hot. Because again, God freaking bid we have any type of main female characters that stand up for themselves or have any type of self-respect at any point in time in any of these godforsaken books. She signs on the dotted line. And in doing so, she makes a couple of like little side comments about how she knew Rowan's grandfather. His name is Brady, which does not seem like a grandfather name. I'm not going to lie to you, but his name is Brady. She makes a couple comments about, you know, yeah, they spoke several times, but she doesn't reveal how she knows him. Okay. Cut to later that afternoon, and Rowan is on a video call with his brothers, and they're talking about the, you know, status of where they are on their plans and what they're going to do next. And again, more family banter, family bonding, getting a good feel for the dynamics and kind of the interconnectedness of the other two books in the trilogy. That's really all this chapter is. But at the end of it, Rowan is thinking to himself, and it's really, really bothering him about how Zara would know his grandfather and how it seems that Zara knows his grandfather better than he did. So he decides to do a little bit of stalking in the employee database. He's going through and he's looking her up, and he sees that her original submission, she's previously submitted into this like employee annual thing. I can't remember what it's called. She had submitted one 3 years ago for Nebula Land, and there's a note attached to it from his grandfather that says he wants to set up a meeting with her to discuss the rejection and give her some like improvement commentary. And so he has like a little meeting request comment attached to this. And then the following year, 2 years ago, is when the Nebula Land project was submitted by some random guy named Lance. Her name is nowhere on this piece of paper. So that's kind of weird. And so he's like, so why, if this was her idea 3 years ago, why would somebody else's name be on this document? This is so strange. And so he decides to make it like his life purpose to figure out what in the ever-loving F is going on with Zara. Okay, little creepy. And not in a hot, fun way, a little stalkery, and not in a hot, fun way, which is incredibly disappointing. When we cut to chapter 8, we're back in Zara's POV, and she's at dinner with her family, with, you know, the roommate / sibling Claire. She tells everybody about her promotion. They're all excited because her parents have, both of her parents and I believe her grandparents, like she comes from like a lineage of people who have worked at the park. They're all Disney adults. They all have like dedicated their life to Dreamland and like just love it so much, right? And so they're all super, super excited that she's a creator, right? That's like one of the most like honorable, respectable jobs in the park. And so the next day, her first day as a creator, she shows up, and so does Rowan. The creative director of the park decides to personally show up to give her a tour of the creator workspaces and show her her cubicle. And, he shows it to her. He walks away. He comes back and she's celebrating, right? She's doing a little shimmy. She's doing a little dance because we've got like a little, Zooey Deschanel and New Girl quirky attitude where she just like dances to herself. And she's the type of person that would swerve for birds. I am too. I'm not like critiquing. This is not a critique of who that is as a person. I too am one of these. Whatever that is, if you know, you know. But I hate seeing it depicted in books like this because it just makes me sick because it feels so infantilized and minimized and shallow. But we'll get there. We'll unpack it. It might just be a personal opinion and me not wanting to see myself reflected in text, right? I admit that. So she's dancing in her little cubicle, right? She's getting down. I don't know why I have a little disco finger going, but she's getting down, celebrating about her finally having this crazy job that she's always wanted. And Rowan sneaks in and he witnesses this and he's like, oh my God, she's such a babe. She's so hot. He sees that she's having computer issues. And yet again, I want to emphasize this billionaire creative director of the entire park says, oh my God, baby girl. And gets on his hands and knees and crawls under her desk to help like connect her computer up. That's not very nonchalant of you, Mr. Billionaire Boy. This isn't very low key. I don't care about anything. I was gonna say frosty. I'm a Mr. Iceman unfeeling guy. Getting on your hands and knees for a woman. We'll revisit that in a minute. But I was just like, okay, so this is not enemies to lovers. We're not dealing with any type of tension between these two. He's very clearly going way, way out of his way to be around this woman and impress her or like do her favors and stuff. Like, don't give me a false bill of sale, right? This is not enemies to lovers. This is not, I don't know, the personalities just aren't matching. It's not meshing. It's not making any sense. Commit to one or the other. Commit to the bit. Say it with your chest. So chapter 8 ends with them, really contemplating this increasing attraction between the two of them. In chapter 9, Zara is finalizing her presentation that she will give, her first presentation, to the group of creators. Her initial idea, the first shot at how are we going to get after this crazy ask of Rowan. She goes over her presentation, and then at the very, very end, there is a slide of her mock-up. And she cannot draw. She's not artistic in any way. She's got the brains. She doesn't necessarily have the skill to draw it out. So she quickly tries to skip through that very, very final piece of information. The meeting comes to an end, and in theory, this is great for her because that means that Rowan has another meeting to go to, but of course, he's invested in her, and so he says, what's that last slide? She's forced to go back and show everybody her ugly little drawing piece of artwork, and he critiques it as much. And he says that it might be the most ugly thing that he's ever seen and tells her to stay behind and dismisses all of the other creators. But in doing so, he also says that everybody else's presentations really, really sucked and he expects all of them to be on Zara's level next week when they do their presentations, but obviously with some better artwork. Okay, talk about some freaking, not gaslighting. It's not gaslighting. What is that called? Like the hot and cold compliment thing? Like the compliment sandwiches? Oh my God. Why can I not think of what that word is? Negging? Talk about negging, right? Jesus, I don't know why that was so hard for me. Hold on. If you're watching visually, I'm taking out my contacts because I think if I put on my glasses, I think that would like really finish this look. My very like black and gold vibe that I'm going for right now. Oh, okay. I haven't worn these glasses in so long. I think this is so cute though. I think this like really finishes the look. Okay, sorry. Back to where we were. So he dismisses everybody and she stays behind. He approaches her, confronts her because during the meeting she was giving him wicked attitude. Like when he was giving her this quote unquote feedback, which was like low key negging, she would push back and she would be like, come correct, basically, like if you're gonna talk to me, like don't be a douche, like you can have a normal conversation and like I don't see you coming up with any ideas, like what, like who do you think you are, just coming off the top rope over here? And so once everybody else leaves and they're in this room together and he, approaches her and gets all up in her face and confronting her, of course they end up kissing because he just can't control his attraction to her anymore. And they're just like macking on each other. And then he pulls away and then she scurries out of the room. And when we cut to chapter 10, we're in Rowan's POV and he is just regretting everything that just happened. He flees back to Chicago because that is where they are based out of. Like, that's where the Dreamland, like, CEO, right? His brothers, that's where they live. He just happened to go to Dreamland for this, like, thing from his grandfather. So he's going back to Chicago to attend the weekly board meeting. He shows up. The father, Seth, is their dad's name, which is the douchiest name for a dad I could ever think of. No offense to any Seths in the audience. And he's very critical of Rowan's request for this $10 billion to, you know, fund the Dreamland overhaul, which is understandable, questioning this $10 billion because the dad didn't get the same letter, right? So each of the grandsons got a letter. And there's a number of other letters, mystery letters that will be discovered and revealed throughout the course of this book. But the dad has no idea why Rowan is all of a sudden wanting to be the director. In theory, what will happen in 6 months and what was always meant for him to be was the CFO, the chief financial officer. But to the dad's POV, Rowan just randomly decided to become the creative director, and then he'll go back to being the CFO eventually. So that's where this, like, little wishy-washy critique family dynamic thing is coming in at. And the dad says, Rowan, you have a week. You should come back at next week's meeting and you should walk everybody through the budget of what exactly you're expecting to happen right now, because this is absolutely ridiculous. $10 million, like blah, 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 or 10 billion, sorry. My bad. Billion with a B dollars. You should probably walk through this request. Aye, aye, Captain. In chapter 11, we're back to Zara's POV, and Zara's doing her best to forget about Rowan while he's away, but she just can't do it. She just can't forget about him at all. And on this particular day, right, he comes back from his board meeting. Is it the next day? The same day? Probably, knowing the way that these billionaires just hop in jets and freaking boil the oceans with their carbon emissions. He shows back up at the office, goes to her cubicle, and she's the only one that's there because everybody else is at lunch. And she tells him that, you know, she's just working really, really hard. And there's a little bit of confrontation between the two of them. And yet again, I'll just make it clear for you now, even though the book decides to drag it out for hundreds upon hundreds of pages, Rowan has a bit of trust issues. He's a really, really rich guy coming from a really, really rich family. He expects everybody in his life to just be using him for his money, or like that they are all going to blackmail him. And so he, coming into this conversation with Zara after this little smooch that they had, thinks that she's going to go to HR and report him. And so he's like, hey, if you're going to do that, can you just talk to me first? Like, I'd rather just pay you off. She says, I was not going to go to HR. I don't really have any plans to go to HR, but I think I'm actually genuinely offended the way that you phrased that, which I think is a legitimate critique. I think I would be pissed if somebody came at me that way as well. And oh my God, I just realized, so I haven't really been reading you any quotes from the book. I've just been yapping about it. So I pulled up my little highlights that I have from Kindle because I was like, okay, well, let me make it clear, right? Let me make it clear for you about what's happening. The middle of their talk, yapping, whatever. He critiques her drawing on the wall. So she goes to take it down and like unpin it from the corkboard. Rowan's massive hand covers mine, stopping me from removing the tack. The current of energy from last week is back in full force. I suck in a breath when his thumb caresses my knuckles. Oh my God! His hand disappears all too soon, taking my rush of attraction with him. I'm sorry, that was inappropriate. I laugh to myself. I think touching my hand would be considered tame compared to other things. His body freezes. What's your angle here? Angle? What are you talking about? What are you trying to get from me? Are you trying to get money out of me? What? Money? God, is that what he really thinks about me? I might not have the most squared away finances, but I would never do something of the sort, especially when I encouraged him. It wouldn't be the first time something like that happened, he grumbles. Oh my God, does he go around having this issue with others? Is kissing your employees a repeat occurrence for you? The question leaves my lips in a whisper. What? No. He blinks twice, giving away his surprise. My muscles relax. So maybe I am special after all. The thought makes me smile to myself. Girl, get up. Get up. I think that's going to be my new thing in all of my videos. Please, for the love of God, raise yourself up. What do you mean? Don't celebrate the fact that a man kissed you. Because he doesn't make out with other employees, that makes you special. I don't think that's the case. I think that's a really horrible barometer to have. It just is so gross. I freaking hate it here. So anyway, he takes her drawing down because he says, this is actually really, really ugly and I'm taking it because I'm going to give it to a friend of mine who will make it better. And she says, really? You have friends? He drags out one long blink. I don't consider those who work for me friends. He spits out. Oh, okay then. Moving on. Do you think they'll help me? His eyes move from my lips back to my eyes, if only to spare me from witnessing your secondhand embarrassment again. My laugh takes over, making my entire chest shake. I'm all for that. Do you trust them to not share the idea with anyone? His head tilts. Why? My eyes drop. I want to make sure that it remains a secret until I present it. That's all. I trust them. He looks as if he wants to ask me something else entirely. Because again, we're just like footing around. Is that the term? Tiptoeing? We're just tiptoeing around the fact that she has trust issues from Lance stealing her idea. And like, again, God for freaking bid anybody actually use their words and have conversations, even though we're all adults here. And I hate it here so much, dude. We cut to chapter 12. Rowan does not, in fact, have a friend who can draw. He's talking about himself because Rowan is just a little artist. He loves to paint. He used to love to paint pictures and draw and do all this little artsy fartsy stuff. And it was something that he and his grandfather really, really bonded over because his grandfather was also a creative person. Inevitably, or whatever word that I'm trying to look for here, he got this creativity abused out of him as a child because his father wanted him to be, you know, into sports and into like money making and into all of these other things and, toxic masculinity. After his mom passed away, there was this like expectation of the boys to be these like really manly men and all this crazy stuff. And so his dad was never supportive of his art career. And so it got to the point where Rowan didn't partake in any art stuff. He didn't pursue any of that. And so it's something that he's like locked away really, really deep inside of him that he hasn't done for years and years. But all of a sudden there's an attractive woman who might need him to draw something, and so all of a sudden he goes out and buys a bunch of art supplies. He's sitting in his little house and he's trying to draw this thing for her, and he ends up having a panic attack because of all of these emotions and everything that is coming to the surface of him, you know, doing art for the first time in like decades, 2 decades, right? Since before his mom died technically. And it's a big deal. He gets through it though, draws. It's amazing. It's great. And he brings it to Zara the following day. And he says, hey, my friend wanted me to drop this off for you. She says, oh my God, this is like literally so beautiful. Who's the artist? I see they didn't leave like a signature or anything. Like, I want to give them credit. He says, don't worry about it. They just did it on the side. They don't need credit anyway. She says, oh my, okay, if that's fine, that's fine. But like, here's my phone number. Can you give this to them? I want to text them and say thank you. If you can just pass this along, if they're shy or if they don't want to reveal themselves or whatever, that's fine. Just, give them my phone number, please. Okay. He takes it and he says, okay, I'll see what I can do, and leaves. And he's thinking to himself that he's just going to throw away this phone number because, screw that girl. And he just did this the one time just to like not have this whole secondhand embarrassment thing. And it was a one-time thing. It was a one-time thing. Don't worry. I'm going to throw her number away. In chapter 13, he's stopping at this trash bin at this entrance of the other building, and he wants to throw it away and act like this never happened. And he just can't bring himself to do it. So instead, he puts her number in his phone, and then he crumples it and throws it away. And in doing so, I guess at the end of chapter 12, actually, my timing is a little bit off. He's thinking to himself, there's something not right about her. Maybe her niceness is a front for what really lies beneath the surface. I don't believe for a second that she hasn't thought about exploiting me because of my position after I kissed her. Even though he's done these nice things and given her this picture, and she's like seeming like a very, very genuine person. Again, we're getting to this whole like distrust idea between the two of them, and he just can't believe she is who she says she is. This also motivates him to keep her phone number in chapter 13 because he decides that he's going to text her. And he's going to be a little catfish. He's going to say, hey, baby, my name's Scott. He doesn't say, hey, baby. That'd be crazy. Talk about coming on heavy. He texts her, though, and they have a little bit of back and forth exchange where he says, hey, Rowan gave me your number. She says, oh my God, I didn't expect Rowan to actually do it. I'm so glad that you messaged me. 3 exclamation points. And he's thinking to himself, who in God's name uses that many exclamation points? It should be considered illegal. And she double texts and says, I just wanted to say, 1, thank you for helping me because I can't draw to save my life. And 2, is there some way that I can repay you? She wants to repay me. That can't be the true reason that she was interested in texting me. And she triple texts. I'm broke with real money, so I'm not sure if you'll accept Monopoly bills as currency. Quadruple texts. Or I could take you out to dinner, my treat. He finally responds, I'll pass. I'm not interested in acquiring food poisoning at a place that accepts Monopoly bills as currency. So they go back and forth, right? He keeps denying her. It's a little cutie banter. He keeps pushing back and she says, okay, that's fine. Like, you're shy. I get that. You don't want to go to dinner with me. That's cool. And he says, are you this hopeful about everything? Sure, why not? Because life isn't always rainbows and sunshine. Of course not, but how can we appreciate the sun every morning if we don't live through the dark? And he's thinking, what kind of drugs does she take? And yet again, banter, cracking through the icy exterior of the main male character. There's only one loose end getting in the way of ensuring my time at Dreamland is smooth and scandal-free, and I plan on keeping a close eye on her. So his whole intention at this point, I just want to be abundantly clear for anybody listening right now, he's catfishing this woman to keep an eye on her to ensure that she does not submit an HR complaint because he came onto her and made out with her. Even though she has reassured him at this point multiple times and has made it abundantly clear that maybe she's just a good freaking person in general, and also maybe low-key is kind of into him and wanted to make out with him, and he doesn't want to accept any of that. So instead, he actively decides that he's going to continue to catfish her to figure out what she's all about. In chapter 14, from Zara's POV, she's talking to Rowan and he ends up like inadvertently, accidentally commenting aloud and referring to her as his golden ticket, which she takes as a compliment. She says, oh my God, I don't think I've ever been referenced as something so special. My shoulders sag. How pathetic is that? I set my standards so low after Lance. I'm obsessing over casual compliments from my boss. A boss who kissed you like you've never been kissed before, but my boss nonetheless. Get up! Dude, I freaking hate it here. At the next weekly meeting, she shows up and she gives her next presentation, but Rowan isn't there, and she's receiving a whole bunch of compliments. Like, literally, everybody is clapping for her. She was getting more and more confident as she was going through it, and all she can do is grin. If this is what believing in myself feels like, I wish I had done it a bit sooner. Before my ideas were stolen and my spirit was crushed. I'm done being that woman. From now on, I refuse to let self-doubt get in my way. I'm now Zara 2.0, the woman who doesn't give much thought to the past because I'm only facing my future. Lance might have stolen my first idea, but it's most certainly not my last. And everyone's response tells me that the only one I need to prove something to myself. What the frick is this sentence? And everyone's response tells me that the only one I need to prove something to is myself. Okay, we know that's not true, right? Like, she's about to have an existential crisis about needing to prove herself to this beautiful, brooding... beautiful brooding? I don't even know how I made my lips do that. This beautiful, brooding billionaire man, right? Like, we all know her self-esteem is about to immediately crumble because she places the value of herself in the opinion of this, like, piece of crap man that she made out with one time. Like, you and I know that that's what's about to happen, right? Cut to chapter 15, Rowan's perspective. He left and did not attend that weekly meeting early because he decided that he was going to call his personal pilot for his private jet to drive him to Chicago early because he didn't want to be there. He knew he was getting too close to her and that it would just spell trouble and that she was like a siren and she just called to him and he couldn't resist it. And so he decided to fly out early so that he could attend the weekly board meeting for Dreamland up in Chicago. He does, though. He gives a flawless presentation on his plans to the board, and everybody is incredibly supportive, including his father, which is a little bit suspicious. And so Rowan, he has dinner that night with his brothers, right, Declan and Cal, and they have a little bit of discussion, and everybody's a little weirded out about how nice their father is being. And they don't really understand what that's all about, but they move on. Cut to chapter 16. We continue in Rowan's perspective. However, this time, we're back in Dreamland, and he is having a bunch of back and forth conversation with Zara. They're talking, they're creating together, they're having this little creative flow and working on her proposals, and it's just little cutie banter back and forth and bonding, and it's a really, really great time. And it gets to a point where he goes ahead and delivers yet another series of photos from Scott, quote unquote, like he delivers on behalf of his supposed friend. They almost kiss yet again, and she says, "Can you just tell him thank you?" He says, "Okay." And they move on. And in chapter 17, we're in Zara's POV, again, texting back and forth. To be frank, is it apostolary? Oh no. This is the one bad thing, is I have like so many different words in my brain. Epistolary. I was going to get there eventually. Is that the word I'm thinking? Epistolary? In the form of letters. I was right! I love when this happens. So epistolary writing, they're texting, they're yapping, they're having a good time in chapter 17, and it's cool. But what does happen in real life is the fact that she shows up late to a creator meeting, ends up the only spot that's available is next to Rowan. He gives her a hard time, and when she goes up to present, and happens to present some of the photos that Scott, aka Rowan, drew her, he's incredibly critical of her in front of all of these people. Again, we're back to this whole idea of like negging and shit talking and like making her feel bad about herself and her ideas, but ultimately leads him to building upon it and giving some like additional creative feedback and really getting involved. And it's some really, really good back and forth. It's a really good, engaging conversation. And he is genuinely, he's starting to feel it. Zara can see it. Everyone around them can kind of feel this like creative juices flowing. And it's something that he's always dreamed of having happen. And so obviously, immediately, he turns that into being a complete dick to everybody around him because God forbid we admit our feelings. God forbid we're able to, I don't know, not have toxic masculinity or something like that. And so she gives the first presentation as like punishment for being late. And then everybody that goes after her, he just has a grumpier and grumpier expression and gives more and more harsh, like critical feedback. And at the end of this meeting with all of the creators, he says, "This was so crappy. All of your ideas were literally so poor that you guys have to work 12-hour days until further notice. And I expect you to have more innovative ideas or I'm literally going to fire you. You have until next week to come at me with better ideas, longer working hours, everything so much more thorough, or I'm literally going to fire you." And she thinks he's hot. She leaves this meeting after this discussion and after her critique of these incredibly intelligent people that she has admired for years and people that she has built these relationships with, and still thinks that he's hot. And turns out you don't have to like know somebody personally to like feel upset with their boss for threatening to fire them, but it does add an extra layer of like fucked up apathy. How are you going to be supportive of a man who talks crap like that to your friends? To your coworkers, and you still want to bang him? Again, couldn't be me. Could never be me. In chapter 18, Rowan tears into yet another team talking mad crap, and he's texting Zara afterward, and this is where he's texting her as Scott, right? Again, and this time they're talking about watching TV shows, because one of the things, right, like she can't afford to give him money. He didn't want dinner. And so she was like, hey, I can give you the password to all of my streaming services. And his response was like, oh, if only she knew who really owned all of those streaming services. And in this chapter, she's like, I'm hiding behind a screen because I'm scared. And he's like, if only she knew who produced her favorite TV shows. Which again, I think I'm supposed to think is hot, because it's supposed to be some deep fundamental connection between these characters where, like, you know, he relates to her and he has the same interests as her. But it just sounds so douchey. I can't get over it. And so in this chapter, this is like the first inclination or indication or whatever. She's obsessed with Pride and Prejudice and how they have watched each and every one of those versions, and they compare and contrast them. And it's like a bonding situation between the two of them. I don't know. I don't care. Ultimately, the only other thing that comes out of this chapter is the fact that he has bought a digital tablet in order to draw on and create on. So that way he, as Rowan, doesn't have to keep dropping off these pictures from Scott. This way Scott can email her and he can maintain this lie a lot easier without being tempted by her seductress ways. You know what I mean? Like not wanting to like make out with her and making it kind of weird. And so Scott is emailing her these pictures and they're collaborating. You know, again, creative flow, really, really working well together. There is some good character bonding. There is some true, genuine, like, connection that happens in this book. And the relationships between the two characters isn't necessarily where my critique is at. I think there was some great banter. I think there was some great relatability between the two of them. It's just the parts of the book that fell so flat and so annoying that it ruined the rest of the book. But these particular instances, I mean, I thought they were okay. Chapter 19, Rowan's POV. This time around, he still shows up at Zara's cubicle, even though he has no reason to. He's not dropping off a picture for Scott, and he's not really doing anything. He's just kind of moseying around because he wanted to see her because she's a little hottie-toddy. And again, this is not enemies to lovers. He's just so attracted to her. He just has to check on her and see what she's up to. And outside of her cubicle, there is a flyer. It's one of those flyers that has the little tabbies at the bottom that you can like rip off, and it has her phone number. And it is for a mentoring program. And she's like, mentoring program tonight at blah, blah, blah. There'll be cupcakes. And there's like some little fun, you know, artwork on it and her phone number at the bottom to contact her or to sign up for this mentoring program. And something about this drives him so crazy. The idea of people having her phone number and being able to reach out to her personally makes him so upset, pisses him off so bad that he rips all of the other tabs off of the flyer. There was one tab missing and he ripped all of the other ones off. And as he does that, stuffs them in his pocket and he's about to storm away. She pops her little head out of her cubicle because she hears some noise and she's like, oh, hey, oh, it's you. He says, yeah, it's me. I was seeing what the heck, you know, this dumb program's about. What is this for, like kindergartners? You got like cupcakes over here. This is so stupid. And she gets so angry, like uncharacteristically so. He's like, I literally don't even recognize who this woman is. This is so incredibly weird. I don't know why. I don't know what this is about. But all of a sudden, he's like, well, now I have to show up to this mentoring thing tonight to prove a point, earn her forgiveness, whatever you might want to call it. So cut to that night, he shows up. It's literally him, Zara, and these two other people. The two other people that show up, it's a younger woman and a younger man, and turns out they both have Down syndrome. And the young woman, Ani, is Zara's younger sister, and the guy is JP, Ani's boyfriend. The mentoring program, I don't know if it was specifically for folks with Down syndrome, but obviously because he took all of the freaking tags, that's what it turned into. And so it's a mentor program specifically for these guys. And so it ends up being JP, right, the boyfriend, and Zara, and then Ani, the little sister, and Rowan. And they partner up and they go and do their things and they begin this whole like mentorship program and they become official buddies. He kind of comes to the realization that maybe in fact he is actually a complete D-bag. But I solidify myself as Ani's buddy, not because Zara told me to, but because I kind of like her. Ani. Maybe Ani can give you a better understanding of who Zara really is, he's thinking to himself. Or what if Zara really is a nice person and you're too goddamn bitter to accept that? Something about that thought troubles me. Because if Zara really is a nice person, it would throw my entire mentality off. I shake my head. I'd be stupid to trust someone based on nothing but a few interactions. We're 35% of the way through the book. We are on page 152. And if we're still questioning interacting with somebody after a few interactions, somebody who has touched your beep boop that you have made out with, that you've been texting secretly for days, weeks, what are we talking about? What do you mean? It feels so contrived. Cut to chapter 20, Zara's POV. She is texting Scott a whole bunch, and she's also hanging out with Rowan through the buddy program. She's feeling really, really guilty because she thinks she's like kind of into two guys at once. You know, Rowan is so attractive and she loves the way that he interacts with her sister because Lance, right, her ex-boyfriend, wouldn't even acknowledge Ani as like a real person, treated her really, really crappy, didn't like, you know what I mean, like respect her or treat her like a human being. And so the fact that Rowan does, this is a really, really big deal. And obviously the fact that he's like pretty hot. And then she's texting Scott all the time. And they're like, you know, bantering and flirting and whatnot. And so she feels just really guilty, really kind of crappy. During one of these like buddy trips that she goes on, the four of them go on, is a bowling trip. He makes a comment about how he played varsity bowling, and she laughs. And he's really, really offended. He was not joking. He actually did play varsity bowling, and she realizes, oh my God, this is a trauma response because nobody's ever supported him. I just can't, I don't give a shit. You're a billionaire. Go to therapy. I don't care. Yeah, you have an absent father. Go to therapy. I'm having such a hard time caring, and I know I just, like, I might sound insensitive or whatever. It's so stupid. So she's like, oh my God, this bowling trauma. It turns into, like, a cute little bowling thing where he, like, is it Ghost? Is that the movie where she's, like, the clay and then the guy comes behind her and it's the clay and it's, like, the really, really famous scene? It's like that, except bowling. He's, like, standing behind her and, like, holding her arm as she, like, flings the ball down the alley. She gets a strike, of course, because God forbid. Of course she gets a strike. She, like, runs up to him and hugs him, and his body's all tense and stiff because he doesn't know how to hug people. He doesn't even know how to smile. It's been an ongoing commentary throughout this series of text messages throughout the book so far, is that every time they text and she cracks a joke, he uses these muscles that he's not used to in order to smile. He uses his lungs in a way that he's not used to because he laughs. Shut up. I hate it here. It's so dramatic. Chapter 21, Rowan's POV. He has, I think a couple times a week, he hangs out with Ani as part of the mentor program. On this particular day, she shows up. Ani is making it incredibly obvious that she is trying to set up her sister, right, Zara, and Rowan. They obviously like each other. She's saying both sides of this. So she's like, oh my God, seriously, like, you guys literally just need to, like, flirt already and make this happen. And she's like, yeah, Rowan, I know that you like my sister because you smiled at her. And he says, people smile. Ani only laughs and shakes her head. Not you. Let's pretend this conversation never happened. Sure, Rowan, sure. She swipes another handful of cotton candy for me as payment for her secrecy, but something about her smile tells me I'm anything but safe. It is cute. I'm not gonna lie. Again, I'm going back to the fact there's nothing inherently wrong with this book. I liked some of the aspects. I did it. I enjoyed the banter. I'll even admit it, and this is between you and me, I liked the spice. Who am I? The spice was, like, actually kind of good. I didn't cringe. It didn't make me hate my life, other than the fact that he said globes of her ass, which is, like, almost up there with milk or milked or whatever. He used some of the bad words, or the author, I guess, technically used some of the bad words during the, like, spice scene, but it was actually, like, pretty tolerable. It was actually, like, pretty decent. A lot of this was pretty good. It's just, it fell flat in some of the character development, some of the unlikability of the characters, and in general plot choice. It could have been so much better than it was. But banter, for example, I really enjoyed. And so like I would totally give Lauren Asher as an author. I don't know where that accent came from. I would totally give Lauren Asher another chance as an author. Maybe not in this series particularly, but like I would. I have no problem with it, you know what I mean? And so he and Ani have this conversation. Cut to later that night, he's pretending to be a little catfish yet again and is texting Zara. She reveals that she is still working, even though it's like 11 p.m. She's still at the office working on her next proposal for the next like creators meeting, because turns out Rowan told them that they need to work 12 hours a day plus or they're going to get fired. And then he acts surprised when she's working late hours in order to meet these like incredibly high standards that he has. Again, just like talk about being out of touch, right? And so he, as Scott, is like, oh my God, baby girl, you need to get some food. You need to get out of there. And then he, as Rowan, miraculously, somehow, magically, like shows up at her cubicle. And she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I was just making my rounds. I was just seeing who was still working. Which, I don't know if you've ever had a boss like that. I have bosses like that go and make their rounds at like 5 p.m. And it's a thing. If you're still there after like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and you have a guy that does the rounds and goes and he sees you there, you get like bonus points in that person's mind as like being a dedicated worker. Not that it results in anything, other than the fact that some random guy just has like a favor for you or has a little +1 for you noted in his little mental bank. Whatever. If you know, you know, I guess, if you've had like a boss or a big boss, a person who's like that. Doesn't matter. He's one of the, that's what he's portraying in this moment. He's doing his rounds and she's the only creator that's left because she's just a little special lady. So he approaches her, right? Has this conversation. As they're talking, her stomach growls and he pulls out his phone and he says, how do you feel about Chinese food? Her mouth gapes apart. It's good. I dial a local place I have saved after too many late nights working. Hold on. How many late nights have you been working? I thought you don't ever come to Dreamland. I'm not sure what Zara likes, so I order one of everything. It's probably overkill, but I would rather have her eat something that she likes. I hang up and find Zara still gawking at me. What? She shakes her head. I didn't expect you to buy me dinner. I'm hungry. You can have the leftovers. I respond as if that solves everything. But I'm pretty sure you ordered the entire restaurant. I remain standing in silence, her brows pulled together before she wipes away whatever look is on her face. All right, so why are you thinking of getting rid of blah, 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 blah? Okay, hold on, time out. Wee-woo. Rewind. Hey, buddy boy, why did you order the entire restaurant when she's literally standing in front of you? Probably within arm's reach, eye to eye, motherfucker. And you didn't think to say, hey, do you want some sweet and sour? You want some orange chicken? Beijing beef? What you feeling, baby? You want some shrimp fried rice? You didn't think to ask? You just order the entire menu? That is that like billionaire life. That is the epitome of like disconnected from reality that makes this character so annoying to me. What do you mean you just ordered the entire menu? At 11 p.m. at night, you think those motherfuckers ain't got nothing else to do? You just like, you making this local Chinese restaurant bust their ass at 11 o'clock at night and like you're not even gonna eat half the food that you just ordered. When you literally could have asked her in front of your face, what's your favorite dish? And ordered appropriately? We're gonna talk about it in a minute. I am so mad about that. Anyway, cut to chapter 22. Zara's perspective. It's yet another of the like mentorship buddy program. We're at Halloween time though, and it's time to carve some pumpkins. And Ani accidentally gets 2 pumpkins and she says, well, I want to carve a pumpkin with a JP. And so that means, you know, Zara, you and Rowan are gonna have to carve a pumpkin together. Wink, wink, nod, nod, trying to set her sister and her little mentor membership buddy guy up, right? It's kind of cute. And so they do, right? They end up carving these pumpkins together. They have a little bit of discussion back and forth. It's a little bit more of a philosophical discussion in this case because she ends up trying to make small talk with him as they're carving pumpkins and asking what he does in his free time. He says, nothing. I don't really have a workplace balance. Like, there's no such thing as a work-life balance when your life is work. And she's like, that might be the saddest thing that I've ever heard. Like, what is the point of having all of the money, like more money than God, if you don't even do anything to enjoy it? And so he ends up kind of semi-changing the topic. And he says, if money was no object, what would you do? The options are endless. That's a terrifying sentiment coming from you. Well, for starters, I would give back to charity. We support charities. Only because it's considered a tax write-off. Have you ever attended a charity event that didn't include champagne and caviar? Don't be ridiculous. Caviar is disgusting. Okay, well, maybe you should spend a day working at a homeless shelter. Maybe you'd think twice about walking in shoes worth more than someone's rent. I didn't think my question would turn into an inquisition. You asked, I answered. That's all you would do with your endless amounts of funds? Donate it? Not all of it. I'd save some for myself and buy first edition copies of all of my favorite books. Books. What about your pins? You wouldn't want to buy more of those? Okay, and so this is where I say pause. Her pins being the fact, this got noted, I think in chapter 1 even, or chapter 2. Whenever he went to that very, very first meeting that he had crashed, like the employee meeting, and she was all jingle jangly, super, super loud. One of the reasons she was super loud was because her backpack had a bunch of pins on it. Some of them are like little millennial humor, you know, like I must ask you a question type beat, you know what I'm saying? One of them caught his particular attention, and it was a semicolon. And if you are unfamiliar with the culture of a semicolon, like pin, tattoo, whatever, is indicative of somebody who like either had ideation of or tried to end their lives and lived on, right? So instead of a period, like ending a sentence, you have a semicolon and it continues on. It's just like a symbolism of that. And so he spotted this on her bag. He knew what it meant because he too had similar ideations related to it. And that was one of the reasons that she, you know, kind of stood out to him. And so he's always wanted to ask about her pins, and like she has a large collection of it. Okay. So he asks in this instance, like, oh, you wouldn't buy more of them with like infinite amounts of money? You're telling me your little pin collection, you wouldn't put more of them on your bag? No. Why not? Because that's not how it works. Then how does it work? It's a long story, and all we have is time. And it's not something that I want to share with you. Shit. My eyes widen and my mouth pops open, but I stop myself from apologizing. His entire forehead scrunches. I didn't know it was some sensitive subject. I'm not sure if it's me or my imagination, but the air between us grows heavy until I look away first. It's just not something that I talk about with many people, or anyone besides my family and Claire. Got it, he says. They talk a little bit more. It's just incredibly awkward, but they do continue to enjoy one another's company as they carve pumpkins. And when we cut to chapter 23, we're back in Rowan's perspective. He is still texting her as Scott. Regardless of these continuing conversations and these growing feelings between the two of them, he's continuing to just be a little catfish. On this particular day, he's texting her, and she is talking about what she's up to that day, which includes babysitting for free and I believe tutoring. A little bit of both, right? She's tutoring some kids and babysitting them kind of like in the same breath. And he's like, what do you mean you're doing it for free though? And she says, yeah, I mean, the mom needs more money than I do, and I like helping. And the mom who she is helping works for Dreamland. And so he says, hold on a second, like, why does she need to work 2 jobs? Like, what do you mean she's at work right now? They give us free lunch and cheap housing. And he's thinking to himself, I thought these kind of measures were put in place to help lessen the cost of living. And she responds, not everyone can survive off of Dreamland's dismal wages. And he feels that drastic heartburn again trickling its way through my chest. Is that me starting to care? He thinks. I swallow back my unease. Zara responds, but we make do with what we have. Sorry. It's not funny. This is so serious. This is like literally so serious. And so he types out a response and he says, Wouldn't people quit if they were unhappy with the pay? They might. I wouldn't blame them. But many people love their job, and some are even multi-generational. And this is like, again, we are, how far are we into this book? 42% of the way. When he is at one of the, I want to take this book. I want a physical copy. I want to put it in a bath of water, and I want to wring it out. And I want to wring out all of the ignorance and the frustration that I have in this book. This is 42% of the way through when this billionaire finally comes to the somewhat almost kind of sort of realization that the working class has problems, that the working class can't live on minimum wage. Initial realization that, people can't afford to live. He all of a sudden is able to realize that Martha, his secretary, who I have not mentioned yet in this review because to him she has not been a real human being until all of a sudden. Martha is his secretary who has worked for the company for like a number of years. She was previously his grandfather's secretary before he passed, right? Like inherited her. She's walking with a mad limp. This night, he's asking something of her, and she talks about how she needs to go and work her second job at the bar. And he says, "Why do you need to work at the bar? Don't we pay you enough?" Her smile wobbles at the same time as her shoddy ankle that desperately needs surgical attention. She says, "Of course." "Don't lie to me, Martha. I thought we had a connection. I even let her go home early last week for fuck's sake." "Sir, our connection is weaker than the dial-up internet at the local library." Jesus, he's thinking. Dial-up internet still exists? That's almost as sad as the beat-up sneakers she swaps with her work flats. Which again, I just want to fight a man. I don't find it endearing or attractive or excusable to be so disconnected with your fellow human being. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. So he ends up having this like entire back and forth with her where she goes on to reveal Martha, again, worked for the company, worked for the family for years upon years, has been in obviously broke her ankle and was not able to get the medical attention that she needed. Whatever, she's now working at a bar. She ultimately reveals that she is working at said bar to earn an extra income to pay for her husband's cancer treatments because the healthcare plan that they are on does not cover said treatments, or it does, but they can't afford the like premium or the co-payments or something like that. They can't afford it. And then also they have like a grandchild on the way, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff that they just need a lot of money for. And it's just, she has to work a second job. And he's realized, again, we're just like all of a sudden developing empathy and realizing that not everybody has $1 billion around you. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Something about Martha working late into the night on a shitty ankle because I don't pay her enough doesn't sit right with me. It's my fault that she couldn't afford these things. And he's thinking, doesn't feel too good to trim the bottom line now, does it, huh? My skin flushes beneath my suit. With my body temperature spiking at the moment, I can only think of a temporary solution. I type out an email to the Dreamland Finances requesting a bonus. "What are you doing?" Her voice comes out as a whisper. I flip the monitor so she can read the email. "Consider this a Christmas bonus." "But it's October." She puts on her reading glasses and gasps. Her eyes roll into the back of her head as she passes out. Fuck. This is why I don't do nice things. Cut to, there's like a little chapter break line. Something about my encounters with Zara and Martha have me itching to learn more about the hidden issues of the park. Something is haunting me, stealing away my sleep as I consider the daily struggle the employees have. Medical insurance, retirement funds, savings accounts, all of it batters against me like rough waves, and I feel like I'm struggling to stay afloat amidst my growing guilt. And again, we're back to the fact, I don't give a fuck about your growing guilt, you billionaire man-child. You billionaire disconnected from the human experience man-child. This isn't hot to me. His response to this, though, to realizing, the stuff about Martha, the stuff about Zara, whatever, he gives them some days off because he's like, okay, well, If I'm so disconnected with how, my employees are, I bet my employees are disconnected with a bunch of other stuff too. I'm going to give them some paid days off, and I'm going to take the day off so I can go to the park and experience it, firsthand. Everybody can go take the day off to go around the park and experience it from our customer's point of view so that we can come correct, right? To put it in layman's terms. He gives everyone the day off, and then all of a sudden he can't find Zara. Texts her supervisor, finds out that she's waiting in one of the lines at the park. And so in chapter 24, from Zara's POV, she's waiting in line. He finds her. He cuts in line to catch up to her. All the people behind him are like, you can't cut. And then he says, you should Google Rowan Kane. And they do, and they find his picture, and they say, oh my God, I'm so sorry, sir. Which is such a weird inserted ego jerk off. What is the point of that? Whatever. Everybody's like, oh my God, it's Rowan Kane. And she's like, shut up, Rowan. We're waiting in line. We're not taking the fast pass because it costs too much money and the normal person can't afford it. We're going to wait in line like the normal people, like these peons, and we're going to experience what Dreamland really is from their perspective. And so they do. And he hates it, and he's complaining the entire time. And then eventually they get on the ride, and he's like, I haven't been on this ride since my mother died. And it's this really cool bonding experience or some bullshit. And then she, at the very end, wants to buy the picture because he got scared during the ride, and he buys it for her, and it's supposed to be romantic or something. It's not just that. They spend the entire day going on a multitude of rides and having a great time, and everything is so crazy, hee hee ha ha, goofy fun time. Cut to chapter 26, and it's later that night from Rowan's POV. And again, we're in October, November-y time frame, right? It's getting cold, and he buys her a hot chocolate, and they're gonna go ice skating, and it's gonna be a really great time. And they do. He's not very good at ice skating. This yet again unlocks a little bit of insecurity from him because his brothers were, on the hockey teams and good at ice skating and whatnot. And he's just not, coordinated in that way. He's not athletic in that way, but that's fine. They still do it anyway, and they have a good time. And then at the very end of it, he asks her out, asks her to go on a date. She says, no. Why? I step closer to her. Do you need a bigger reason besides the fact that you're my boss? That's never stopped you from doing what you wanted before. It doesn't matter. You're the last person I should want. Her words throw me back into the past of the boy who was rejected until he learned to stop caring. The vein in my forehead throbs. Yeah, well, I'm not supposed to be attracted to an insufferable female who drives me to the brink of insanity, yet here we are. You represent everything I dislike in someone. She winces. That's the way you really feel about me? That came out all wrong. Somehow I watched Mr. Darcy f up 17 times, and yet I still managed to fall into the same trap. Her eyes shine, instantly making myself feel shittier. Shit, I didn't mean it like that. I cup her elbow, but she rips her arm away. You know what? Forget about all of this. All I've done is make excuses for your behavior because I was hoping that there was a decent guy underneath all that anger. But in reality, you're nothing but a jerk who gets off on making everyone as miserable as you. Her bottom lip wobbles. No, that can't be true. That's something my father does, not me. I'm practical and blunt. There's a difference between that and being a miserable like my father. But the way she looks at me makes me consider it for a second. My chest tightens. Zara, I'm sorry. Hear me out. I don't want your apology. It means nothing coming from someone who wouldn't know the first thing about feeling remorseful. Oh my God. And so he realizes he done goofed. He done goofed real bad. And so she, storms away. And then he texts her and he's like, hey, you need to meet me in my office tomorrow. What do you mean? And this is I hate this so much. This is the balance of, no, baby girl. I don't know why I say baby girl every time. So I love Brittany Broski. And Brittany Broski, she has a particular I think it's flirting with AI or, no, what is it? Something ASMR boyfriends maybe? she has some video where she watches these guys and she gives reactions to it. And in the video she's watching, the guy says, oh my God, or he says something, he's like, baby girl. And she cringes so hard that it is like seared into my brain. Anyway, so anytime I have these like cringy ass men, I just think of that, where he's like, oh my God, baby girl. Sorry. It doesn't matter. So this is the part that pisses me off. Back to what I was saying. He doesn't get to play this wishy-washy both sides bullshit where he's like, no, I'm only your boss when it benefits me. Like when I can boss you around and tell you to come to my office whenever I want it, but I'm not your boss when it means that I can tell you that I want to bang and it not be awkward and you can't hold it against me. And he gets to play these like the two sides of the fence and then, like, you know what I mean, benefit from both things. It is such an abuse of power. It's so manipulative. It is so incredibly shitty. And I hate that we're not acknowledging that aspect of the relationship. Like, this is literally the, like, pure definition of, like, power dynamic. And, like, this is, like, a pure definition of abuse of power dynamic in a relationship, where he is very, 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 very clearly and obviously taking advantage of such a thing, where he can pick and choose when and where he wants to be the boss of her and not. And it's just annoying. Anyway, chapter 27. He decides to tell her that he is Scott after this, you know, date that they went on, after some of these exchanges that they've had, and this like extra time that she has spent with Rowan, like proper. He decides, okay, I need to tell her, you know, who I really am. She can't keep flirting with Scott. She needs to know that, you know, who she's talking to, it's me. So she shows up to his office and he confesses that this is who he is, and she's upset. She says, are you kidding me? No. And she's thinking, I was wrong about Rowan. He's the worst kind of liar, and the type of man who made me believe in a lie for months because of whatever sick game he wanted to play with me. Wetness clings to my eyes that I blink away, but I blink it away. I don't have a right to be upset with anyone but myself. It's my fault that I texted a stranger thinking that I could get out of this unscathed. I trusted Scott despite the warning signs I was stupid enough to ignore. I don't know if I said it earlier, but he's coming clean about he being Scott. He's like, oh, actually, I think I kind of like her, and low-key, I don't want her to keep thinking that Scott and myself, Rowan, are different people. I need to confess to her that I am Scott. So she is, you know, thinking to herself, and she's like, whatever, I was stupid enough to ignore. Have fun, Claire said to me time and time again. Be brave, Ani chanted like a war cry. And for what? This feeling in my chest at the idea of losing something I never had? Screw that. I shut my eyes as if I can block out everything unfolding before me. Why? Why would you do this? She's thinking. Why lie to me for months? Why pretend you cared about me? So many questions batter my brain, yet I can't find the words to attack him. His eyes dropped to his fists. At first, I wasn't sure about your motives. Texting you was supposed to be a way to make sure that you weren't secretly conspiring against me after our first kiss. Is he serious? You wanted to spy on me? No, not spy. I was checking to make sure that you were genuine. So then it turns into this like whole debacle, and she's like, I can't trust you when all you do is lie. I promise that every conversation we had was real. The person I am with you, that's who I am. You probably know me better than anyone. I don't care. I shake my head. How can he expect me to believe a single word out of his mouth? I swear I wanted to tell you, but let me guess. There was never a right time. He nods. I let out a shrill laugh. You liars are all the same. It's amazing how no matter the circumstances, people like you find a way to justify your actions with the same cliche reason. Lance gave me a similar speech after I caught him in the act with Tammy, and now Rowan is doing the same. The truth is that there never will be a right time to break someone's heart. He blinks at me. I understand you're upset. Upset does not begin to cover how I feel. I stand with shaky legs and grab my backpack from the floor. What are you doing? I'm leaving. We're done here. That's it. I deserve an opportunity to explain myself and make it up to you. Are you for real? You deserve nothing but a courtesy hello whenever we pass each other in the hallway. Banter, banter, banter. Bicker, bicker, bicker. Back and forth. It's crazy, dude. It's literally so annoying. So she's just like, she storms out. She goes home and she opens up to Claire and she tells Claire about everything that's happening. And Claire doesn't really understand what she's upset about, because Claire is like, homegirl, you were upset because you were like attracted to Rowan and Scott, and now you find out that Rowan and Scott are the same guy. Is that not literally the best case scenario? Both of the guys you like are the same person. Like, just, yeah, it's a little messed up that he lied to you or whatever, but also I kind of see his POV, and like, maybe you should just like kind of roll with it. And I'm back to the fact of like, girl, one or the other. Are we against this man or are we not? The issue, maybe this is a me issue in two ways. If I get an opinion about you, it is what it is, homie. If you're a lying POS, you're a lying POS till the death of me. Till the death of you, actually. And like, if my friend comes at me and she tells me XYZ, I'm supporting that one. I'm the delusional friend. I'm not the realistic friend. I'm not going to come at you with some other type of words of support. No. We're hating a man. Make it clear to me. If you tell me, hey, this guy was, XYZ and we're hating on him, I will hate on him 100%. I'm not going to talk you out of that. Oh, it's a good man. I really, really love him. I think he's really, really great. I'm still going to hate on the man. You won't ever catch me saying good things about a man unless it is 100% deserved. But like, I'm all for hating men, You'll never find me defending one. And this is where I feel like I just don't relate to the characters. I can't relate to this. I can't relate to any of this. So after this rejection from her, she's heartbroken. She's upset. She says, oh my God, Zorro, that's not his name, Rowan. And she says, oh my God, Rowan, this could never be. He's upset and he's sad, and he tries to move on with life. And by moving on with life, I mean he tries to meet with her sister Ani at the next buddy mentor session. And Ani, a real one, she ignores him and doesn't care about anything he has to say because you hurt my sister. You're dead to me, bro. Well, why are you even talking to me? What are you even doing here, right? But Ani, tries to be mature. And she suggests that, hey, you've ruined my sister's trust. How about you try to earn it back? Give her a reason, a really, really good reason to trust you. And he says, how do I do that? She doesn't believe anything that I say. And Ani says, you're a smart guy. Figure it out. Helpful. Cut to chapter 29. We're back in Zara's POV. He pretty much texted her begging. And he was like, hey, please, for real, please just come to my house and let me explain to you everything that happened. And Zara, being significantly more polite than I could ever be, shows up at his house. On Dreamland property. I believe he's in his grandfather's old home or his family's old home. It's confusing. We'll get there later. I'll explain it eventually. But anyway, so she shows up. It's some secret underground way to even get there in the first place because, secret Disney stuff. I don't freaking know. Club 33. Some weird secret way to get to the house. Whatever. She rolls up. They have a little bit of bonding. And these are the chapters where 53% of the way through the book, he decides to trauma dump. The bond I had with my grandfather was different from the one that I had with my father. And I think that frustrated my father. He was never artsy, and that was all I wanted to do as a kid. It was like he didn't even know how to connect with me in a way that didn't involve throwing a ball around. I don't remember my parents arguing much, but when they did, it was usually about me. My dad would get angry because he didn't know how to bond with me, so my mom would cry. It got particularly worse once my mom got sick. I think she was worried my father and I would never be close and she wouldn't be there to help us. Cancer, right? She's like, that's what killed your mom? I said, there is a time and place, girly pop. I too am an investigative journalist when the time comes, but when a man is revealing his trauma, why would you ask that? His throat bobs as he nods, confirming her cancer diagnosis. I'm sorry. He clears his throat. That was the start of the rocky relationship with my father. Eventually, I gave up on drawing and moved on to more appropriate activities that were expected of me. I literally don't care. I explained this to you earlier because we literally could have learned this justification from Rowan's POV in like the first 20% and it would not have had any impact on the story. It is such an incredible waste of time that we had to wait until this point to learn all of this. The only like I guess semi-significant thing that comes from this is like he opens up about why he doesn't trust her and why he has been so standoffish, which is that people when they learn, which is something that again I told you before because it doesn't really freaking matter, but whenever people learn who he is and learns his last name, like when he got to college, the first woman that he lost his like virginity to, quoting the book, not me, virginity is a concept, whatever, don't quote me on it. The first woman that he lost his virginity to had poked a hole in the condom. What? And like literally every woman that he has hooked up with since then has tried to like not even poked a hole. I think they recorded it. I think they recorded the very first time that he had intercourse in order for blackmail, and his family had to pay like so much money to keep it like a secret. And then pretty much every woman that he hooked up with after that had poked holes in, protection and have tried to like exploit him or his family for money in some way. And so he's just like very, very careful about the people that he interacts with. He's very, very careful about everything like that. And it's incredibly sad. And so this is where he says, this is why I've been so untrusting of you. That's why I texted you as Scott, because I didn't believe that you were a, genuinely nice person. I didn't think that you were actually coming at me in any type of good way. I just thought you were using me for all of my money. But you proved me wrong every time that you spoke to me. You didn't even know who I was, and you were willing to make me feel like I mattered to someone. I was proud to make your drawings. It made me feel happy to make you happy. As I spent time getting to know you, I confirmed my deepest suspicion in a completely different way. You are so much more than you let on, but in a way that makes you priceless. You're selfless, caring, and willing to go above and beyond to help those around you. You tutor kids for free, and you buy grumpy old men bread and cookies. And the selfish part of me wanted to steal a piece of you for myself. You reminded me of what it was like to not feel so damn lonely all the time, and I didn't want to lose that. I took your kindness for granted, and I abused your trust, so for that, I'm sorry. Chapter 30. I think this turns into, it's literally just a spice scene. Yeah, it's literally just a spice scene, and they make some like silly goofy comments about this is gonna be so casual, and obviously neither of them mean it. Chapter 31, Zara's POV. She's reflecting on this whole commentary about it being a casual relationship, but she tries to leave because she's like, oh, he said it was casual, so I'm just gonna we hooked up, I'm gonna put my clothes on and get out of here. And he says, no, you're gonna stay. Pulls her in bed with him so they can sleep through the night together cuddling. And she says, oh, so maybe this isn't as casual as he's making it out to seem. And he pulls on the TV because now that he's admitted that he is Scott, who she has shared her streaming services with and who she has talked extensively about Pride and Prejudice with, she quizzes him and she's like, oh yeah, let's watch the Pride and Prejudice with XYZ character. And he knows exactly who that is. And so he pulls it up and they watch it together. And she's like, oh my God, he really does like me. He really does listen. And maybe this isn't as casual as he's making it out to seem, but I have to pretend that it is casual so that I don't get my feelings hurt. Because again, She just got used so badly and cheated on, and like her idea and creativity stolen and like taken away from her so viciously like 2 years ago. Like, she's still recovering, and I don't think homegirl has ever been to therapy in the meantime. So like, she's still dealing with all of this like turmoil with the Lance guy, you know what I mean? On top of dealing with the wishy-washy negging bullshit from this guy, that she's trying to take it all, right, as at surface value of like what it is, and trying to like remain casual, even though it's incredibly hard. And so when we cut to chapter 32, it's just some more like relationship bonding nonsense between the two of them. He takes her on some like little fancy date, and she finally learns the boy's relationship with their mother. They were all really close. She was a sucker for romance and all of these really good things, and ended up naming all of her boys. Their middle names are all after Arthur's knights. So we have Declan Lancelot Kane. He is Rowan Galahad Kane. And then the other brother is Callahan something. I don't know where his name is. I don't have it marked. I don't know, whatever. All of them are named after knights, and it's just like a little cutesy backstory. I don't know, little relationship building nonsense. In chapter 33, he decides that he's going to take her on a little fancy-pantsy date. He asks her, a number of questions about where she wants to go, and she doesn't recognize some of the names. One of which that he throws out is Ruth's Chris. And maybe this is indicative of me. Maybe this is a me problem. If I went on a date with a billionaire, and he said, let's go to Ruth's Chris, I think I would be pissed off. I Googled it. I knew it was a chain restaurant, but I Googled it to make sure. There are 154 Ruth's Chris's locations in the world. It's a well-known, bougie steakhouse. You know what I'm saying? It's still a chain restaurant, though. You're telling me, again, billionaire, and you're going to take me to a chain restaurant? I think I would be a little mad. Obviously he's expensive. I think it's all right around or right at around under $100 a plate, which is expensive. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's not. But really, I don't know. That felt like one of those moments, and this is not any shade. I'm not trying to sound like that type of person. It felt like somebody who thinks that that's what rich people, or that's where rich people eat at, and that's not at all where rich people eat at. That is not at all where those people actually go. That's crazy. It just felt so, as much of this book, it felt like they were trying to write the character out of touch with normal society. That felt like the most in touch, actually, with where normal people eat at. Girl, why didn't you make up a place? Why didn't you make up something else? What do you mean? Okay, anyway. What really matters is the fact that while they're eating at said steakhouse, they run into Lance, her ex-boyfriend, and he is there with his fiance, who is the woman that he cheated on her with, and she spots them, and it's incredibly awkward. She acknowledges. She acknowledges that this is Lance. He clocks it, realizes it, obviously knows who that is, and Lance knows who he is because he's Mr. Kane. How do you not know? So when Lance inevitably approaches them, he says, "Hey, congratulations, man. I'm so glad to see you here. I hope you guys are celebrating." Lance says, "Celebrating what?" And Rowan says, "Celebrating your job to be the creator at our Shanghai division. You're going to be moving to China. That's so exciting for you?" Because he's forcing him to move to China. It's also two reasons, because this also happens to be their anniversary night, I guess, for him, proposing or getting with his fiance. I don't know. Don't ask me. Don't look at me that way. Whatever. He, flips it and reverses it into putting him in like a really, really crappy position where now Lance has to accept this supposed quote unquote promotion and moving to Shanghai, or he has to quit working at Dreamland, both of which benefit Rowan and his love and protection for his little girly pop. So that's cool, I guess. And so at the very end of the night, when they go to end their date, she grasps my hand. Why would you do that? I shrug. You really do like me. She bats her long lashes. I already told you this earlier. I shoot her a soft smile, which only makes her beam like the goddamn sun in return. She grabs the dessert menu from the center of the table. Actions speak louder than words. And what do my actions say? I lean in and grab the end of her hair, pulling her toward me. What the hell? So our mouths are only inches apart. Are you not at the table reading the dessert menu? That you care more than you're letting on. I closed the gap between us and I kissed her. Don't go wishing for things that can't happen. The corners of her eyes soften, reflecting an emotion I haven't seen from her yet. That's okay. I'll dream big enough for the both of us. The strange warmth surging through my veins is quickly doused by a chill. That's my biggest worry in one single sentence. So in chapter 34, Zara is having a bunch of like back and forth contemplation because she's like, I know he said he wants this to be casual, but there's no way that's what he actually means. I know that he wants more than that. And so they end up banging in the car ride home. He, you know, after the fact in the post-coitus in the post-coitus haze, admits as much. And he's like, yeah, you know, I would give you my whole heart if I could, but I just don't know how to love somebody, and I just know I'll mess it up so bad. Chapter 35, we continue in Zara's POV, and turns out her little sister, Ani, has invited Rowan to come to their family dinner. He obviously says yes. He shows up, though, and it's a little awkward. It's a little bit more tense than even he normally is, but nobody else catches it because he can fake it, and she just knows him so well. She just knows him so well that she's able to pick up on his awkwardness and on the fact that this isn't who Rowan really is, and he's just, there's something going on. That something being the fact that at the family dinner, her family talks about how that they have never been able to take a family vacation and that they've never been able to go to Chicago because of the poor family benefits that he supplies his employees. And so he feels a little bit guilty. And so the night comes to an end and he's, you know, talking to her about this, and he admits that he realizes that he's an asshole now because her family opened up about how they could never take a vacation. And so he's like, yeah, you know, after this discussion with them and Martha and you, Marsha, realized I don't know how to be a human and I don't know how to run a business. And Zara, she says, I'll help you. I can fix you. I'll teach you empathy. She doesn't say it directly, but that's like literally what it is. The chapter ends with her saying, challenge accepted, which is like, just so incredibly irritating to me, but that's fine. That is fine. So in chapter 26, maybe a part of his wanting to prove that he's a human and proving that he cares, Rowan surprises Zara with a trip to New York. He hears her family. This pisses me off so bad, actually. I'm rocking in my seat. After this, he says, you know what? I'm going to take you to New York and I'm going to make your dreams come true. Her family actively admitted that they couldn't go on a vacation because they don't have enough vacation days or hours or whatever it is. And his response is, again, baby girl, let me treat you. And he takes her on a trip to New York. Not her family, by the way. Not literally any single other person other than her. He says he talks to Ani and he talks to Claire, and they pack her a little suitcase so that she can show up after work, have it already ready. They throw it in her hands. She walks out the door. Rowan meets her and he says, let's go. and they walk on the little flight line directly onto his private jet, and the private jet flies them to New York. She has a little bit of imposter syndrome where she says, oh my God, I'm not built for this. I look like such a slob. Like, you're dressed to the nines, you're wearing a suit, and I'm over here wearing sweatpants and have my hair pulled back, and I'm looking greasy and blubbity blubbity blah. And he says, it doesn't matter what you look like, you're on a private jet, right? Which again, I think is supposed to be attractive. I think that's supposed to be hot, of like, he accepts her for however she shows up, and like something. I don't care. It's gross. We're boiling our oceans. We're boiling our oceans. And again, he came to this realization because her family has never seen snow. They've literally like never been able to leave Florida. And now he treats her to going to New York after a snowstorm to do X, Y, and Z that we'll talk about. I think I would be incredibly upset. Why didn't you take my mom and dad? My mom and dad and my sibling talked about how they have never seen snow and they've never gotten a break, but like, you're treating me. And maybe that's the altruist in me. Maybe that's the eldest sister in me. But she's the eldest sister, so that doesn't make sense. So I'm like, maybe I'm just, too big and softy of a heart. But I just feel like that would piss me off more than it would help. I don't know. So anyway, they show up to New York. Turns out he worked with like Martha, his like secretary lady, to find Zara's favorite romance bodice ripper author to sign a book. And the book signing got arranged literally specifically for Zara. She found out because the author told her. I don't know. It's like some dumb shit, whatever. They have this like really, really romantic trip to New York. Cool. He planned it. It's so great. It's so romantic. It's so wonderful. And then after they get the signing and everything, she's like, hey, I want to go to Central Park. Let me go to Central Park. I want to, feed the horses. I want to take a carriage ride, and I want to look at the Christmas lights and the Rockefeller tree because it's wintertime. And she's like, please, please, please. And he says, okay, but you're going to get sick. We have to make it quick. And she says, okay, fine, I'll make it quick. Sorry. I can't not use that voice. How else do you want me to summarize? That's literally what it sounds like to me. That's literally what it sounds like. So she says, okay, I understand. I'll make it as fast as possible. She doesn't, obviously. It's like hours upon hours later. He can barely feel his legs. She can barely feel her hands. They finally rush home. Cut to like literally chapter 40, 30, 37. Cut to wherever it is. I don't know. They bond. It's really romantic. It's super cute. He has a penthouse. It's one of his like 20 plus homes that he owns. Again, I can't relate, nor would I ever want to. I think it's disgusting, but she's impressed and she's like, oh my God, that's so crazy. And they continue to have a bunch of discussions and they talk about therapy, and she finally opens up about all of her pins and reveals the whole semicolon thing that I mentioned earlier about her wanting to end her life. And so she got the initial pin for that. And then Claire, her BFF, her roommate person, got her a pin every week after therapy for, XYZ amount of time. And so that's why they mean so much to her. And then she recommends that he goes to therapy and works through some things. And he's like, I don't think I'm strong enough. And she's like, you can be, baby. And it's like a whole bunch of like dumb shit or whatever. And he comes to terms and like opens up about his father being abusive after his mother's death. And he's like, I want to be more with you, even though I can't promise you anything because I don't know how to love anybody, especially after her death. I don't know what love really is, and I'm so scared to admit my feelings to you, and I just, you know what I mean? He's like, I can't, accept this and like fully embrace being in a relationship with you and loving you because I saw what love did to my father and how it ruined him and it ruined our relationship with him, so I can't do it. They go back to Florida, and in chapter 41, she's sick. Turns out he was right in telling her that if she spent so much time outside in the snow that she would get ill, and she does, and it's not a very good time. She's sick and she thinks that she's gonna die. She ends up going to his house for some reason. I don't know how she gets there, but she does. She ends up sleeping in his bed. Just keeps getting worse and worse, and she's like sleeping through a couple of days, and she's having like kind of like delirium, and she comes to the delirious realization that I love Rowan Kane. The real question is, does he love me back? She opens her eyes to a doctor that's checking her out to make sure that she's okay, because she's just acting really weird. And the doctor, she checks it, and the doctor says that she might have to go to the hospital if she doesn't get better. And she's like, oh my God, I have to get better. I have to get better for Rowan. And the Rowan takes the doctor and like escorts said doctor out. And in that moment, while she's left alone in the bedroom, Zara comes to the conclusion, she's like, I have to get better for him. I have to do everything that I can. So she like throws herself out of the bed and walks herself to the bathroom, and in the process exhausts herself because she has pneumonia and like a couple other issues. I don't know. Don't ask me. It's like, again, contrived is the only word that I can think of for any part of this book. And like the third act breakup and like the dumb shit that happens. So suddenly she's like, oh my God, I'm so ill. And like passes out. Yeah, like thumps against the ground outside of his bathroom. And so we cut to chapter 42. Rowan, upon hearing said thump after leading the doctor away, rushes upstairs, finds, what's her name? I don't want to look at my screen. What's her name? It's Rowan? Oh no, Ani is the sister. Zara. Jesus. Okay. I kept wanting to call her Laurel. I don't know why. Or Lowen, but his name's Rowan. Dude, I've read too many of these books lately. Ugh. Okay, so Rowan, upon escorting the doctor out, hears a thump on the ground because Zara passes out. So he rushes back upstairs and he says, oh my God, Zara, are you okay? Are you okay? Like shakes her. Oh, but as he picks her up, this is actually like important. So if she's passed out, she's not responding. He's like shaking her, like calling her name, and she's not responding. And he's thinking, is this how my dad felt when my mother was rushed to the hospital time and time again? This burning desperation to do something, yet the inability to fix anything? The thought hits too close to home. How could I have been this much of an idiot? I willingly became like my father, giving into a woman's every whim until they took over all my thoughts and influenced my actions. I've rearranged my schedule, took nights off to attend mentorship events, and went on vacation when I should have been working. Fuck. I was willing to give up my future as the CFO to stay with her at Dreamland. What the hell is wrong with me? The truth is, I became soft and easily swayed by her, and for what? To willingly subject myself to this feeling of powerlessness? That. I absolutely despise whatever is wreaking havoc on my head and my heart. If I never feel it again, I'd consider myself grateful forever. Oh, so you're just a piece of shit. You're just a piece of shit. So he takes her. She shows up to the hospital. They like escort her through some rooms. He lies about his relationship to her and says that he is her fiance because he's like, I've watched enough reality TV to know how this goes. I have to say I'm related or they're going to kick me out. And so he says that he is her fiance. They roll her into a room that is like shared with a couple other people. And he says, I want my fiance placed in a private room. I blurt out. The nurse looks at her clipboard. Once she's stabilized, that's up to her insurance policy. Is she on your plan? My jaw clenches. I have no idea what kind of insurance Zara has, let alone if they allow for private rooms. Thinking to himself, knowing the insurance plans your employees have, do you really expect anything more? My selfishness has a way of coming back to bite me in the ass. And the worst part is, it's only just begun. In chapter 43, Zara wakes up in the hospital. She has no memory of anything that happened, but all she does know is that Rowan is all of a sudden being like a complete D-bag to her and acting like cold and distant, icy and whatever, the same way that he was when they first met. And she just doesn't understand, and he asks if she's all right, and she tries to respond, but before she can ask him what's going on, she falls back asleep. And in chapter 44, she's still in the hospital, she can still tell that Rowan is avoiding her and like using her family to speak like to her, or like to her through them, from him to her through them. You know what I'm trying to say. She ends up confronting him though, and she's like, hey, what is actually happening? And he's like, we were supposed to be casual, something fun. This isn't even close to what I want or need in my life. I have a company to run, a park to oversee, and a lot of shit to work through. People are depending on me, and I'm stuck making sure that you're okay because I feel responsible. She, in the hospital bed, right? After, because he feels guilty. Okay, like, let's be honest about what's happening before I continue. He's feeling guilty because she got sick after he spoiled her and took her on a little trip to New York City. He feels guilty and he doesn't really know how to feel that way. And also he's dealing with some trauma, like some very deeply internalized issues from, you know, his mother suffering from illness and seeing his father deal with it. And there's a lot of layers to what is currently happening. And so he's taking it out on her at like a very shallow level. I acknowledge that. I respect it. It's an interesting dynamic to introduce into a book, right? So he is being incredibly rude to her, saying such things because he's like, I don't want to feel this way. You're making me feel guilty and crappy because I need to be caring about you, but I shouldn't care about you because I have other responsibilities. And he says, I never asked to play your dutiful boyfriend. That's not the man I am. Us hooking up and going on a couple dates was supposed to be the way for me to pass some time at Dreamland. Pass some time. How dare he minimize what we had like that? He shuts his eyes. I've lost track of what's important. I've never taken time off of work, not even for Christmas, but I felt obligated because you got hurt in my house. I've even postponed important meetings and blown off a shit ton of paperwork because what? And she's thinking, say you care, say you want me, say you might be scared, but some things in life are worth the risk. Say anything but nothing. But he says nothing. And she laughs bitterly. I don't know what's more pathetic. The fact that you deny how much you care about me, or the way that I'm actually surprised by all of this. Oh no! Oh no! And so he's like, love was never an option. If I made you believe otherwise, I apologize. I would never subject you to that kind of misbelief when I'm moving back to Chicago soon. What? A new director will be taking over Dreamland at the end of January. Did you know the entire time that we were together? Yes. Did you consider staying longer? I was always meant to go back. That's not what I asked, and you know it. Stop playing your mind games with me and tell me. Stop playing your mind games with me and tell me the truth. His jaw ticks. My personal feelings on the matter are irrelevant. Why are you moving back? My future is in Chicago. So you say. I'm sorry for hurting you. And I'm sorry for ever thinking that you were better than the selfish, cruel man that everyone labels you as. He flinches. It's the first sign of real, raw emotion that I've seen from him today. He looks away and nods. I see. A tear betrays me, sliding down my cheek, and I swipe it away. I'll find a way to repay you for everything because I want nothing to do with you or your money ever again. Even if it takes my whole life to pay you back for this damn room, I'll do it. His throat bobs. I cut him off. Before he can sink his claws further into my heart, I'm feeling kind of tired all of a sudden. And she kicks him out of her room. Oh no. In chapter 45, it's 3 days after he ends his relationship with Zara. He can't eat, he can't sleep, he's losing focus at his like work stuff and feeling super sad, and he ends up back at Dreamland in Florida, and he's trying to talk to Ani, like, right, it's their like weekly mentor meetup time, and Ani is ignoring him. He shows up at her workplace to try and talk to her. She reveals that she feels guilty because she's like, hey, I don't want to be your friend anymore. You broke my sister's heart, and I trusted you, and I helped you hurt her. I set you up with the whole pumpkin situation and New York. Like, I packed her bags for New York, and you made me the bad guy. So, like, I don't want to be your friend anymore. You made me hurt my sister. Which is so sad to think about. And so he, like, reassures her, like, none of this is your fault. And she says, no. It's yours because you're a big baby who can't admit that you like her. I can't hold back a sad laugh. If only life were that simple. You told me that excuses were for losers. Because he did when he was saying how Lance was like a piece of shit for like XYZ. I don't know, some dumb shit with Lance. I don't know. So he goes home that night, right? He rolls back up to his house. Finds... There's been reference to outside of his house. I think he's staying at like the family house or his grandfather's old house or something. And there's a porch swing on the porch, obviously, that he's looked at and avoided throughout the entire book because it brings up too many bad memories, because that's like one of the last times that he saw his mother. No, I think his father held his mother while she died in his arms in said porch swing. And it's the porch swing that his mother and father used to like watch them in when he and his brothers would play in the front yard. There's like some really, again, like traumatic stuff that happens. And so he has been fighting through the entire book about wanting to take this porch swing down, understandably so. But in this instance, he comes back from this conversation with Ani, comes to the realization about everything that's going on with Zara, and he says, you know what, F it, let me grab a drill. Beep, beep. Finds one, goes up, he's up there, he drills the first of the like 4 screws. He goes to the second one, and he sees a little scribble in the ceiling, obviously carved by hand, like a really shaky hand, clearly by his mother, and it says, my little knights, love with all of your heart and show kindness in all of your actions, Mommy. And this makes him reflect on a lot of things, and he's thinking to himself, would my mother be proud of the man I am now? Part of me would surely hope so, but another part of me knows I've done a lot of messed up things in my life because that's all I know. I wasn't raised with the kind of values my mother preached, at least not once she was gone. Whatever son my mother raised died along with her, and I feel nothing but shame. A wave of regret hits me all at once. I discard the drill, take a seat on the chair, and allow myself to come to terms with the monster I became at the sacrifice of my mother's most important values. And so the following day, he shows up at Zara's desk to beg for her forgiveness. He sees her working on her next project. This is going to be the final presentation to the creators group, showing off what they have to offer, blah, blah, blah. He says, oh my God, is that a wheelchair? She blows him off and tries to change the conversation and continue XYZ, begging again for her forgiveness and to come over and let him justify his actions. And she continues to say, no. He says, okay, well, let me draw for you. Let me mock up your work for you. And she again says no. And he comes to the realization that she really is done with me and it's all my fault. So chapter 46, post-hospital, post-breakup, post him saying, oh my God, I can't believe I was ever attracted to you. She receives a letter in the mail from Brady Kane, the grandfather. It's kind of weird. Again, it's a letter that has been kept secret for the years that he was in the coma, as well as maybe some extended amount of time after his death. They let the grandsons receive the letters and then send out these ones to the quote-unquote other people. And in said letter, he thanks her for having such a big impact on him and says that it took me a while to understand why I felt an attachment to you, but I realize it's because you reminded me of my younger self, of someone yet untouched by money, fame, and the expectations that dull even the strongest creative minds. Keep in mind, his attachment to her came after a submission of Nebula Land, the initial submission, right before his death, or a couple of months before his coma, or weeks or days, or who freaking knows. Honestly, the timelines are kind of messy. So how did he know he was going to go into a coma? I don't know. How far in advance did he write these letters? I don't know. Literally, none of this makes any sense to me, but that's fine. So he writes this note to her, and one of the things that he says is, I have one tiny favor to ask in return. As part of my will, I've asked my grandson to become the director of Dreamland for 6 months and create a special project meant to improve the park. And she says, he what? Oh my God. I've personally selected you to participate as a voting member on the committee. You will be expected to either approve or reject Rowan's plans. You reminded me of why I created Dreamland. Your passion for the park was one that I lost along the way. Your unique ideas stoked excitement in me that had long since been forgotten. Because of that, I know you're the right person to help me one last time. It might seem like a big request, but you're one of the people I want to be a part of the change that Dreamland needs. So please join my committee and vote for the future of the park. This is so stupid. And so she reads this and she says, wait, I'm a voting member of the committee. I'm supposed to vote on Rowan's idea for the park. What if everything that he's ever talked to me about, what if everything between Rowan and I has been a lie? Because to her, she's like, it's already been kind of a lie because he already approached me as a guy named Steve and tried to get close to me or whatever, and that was a hard enough thing for us to get over. But now all of a sudden he had some benefit of like being my quote unquote friend. He had something to gain out of our relationship. Like, what if all of this was a lie? So we cut to chapter 47 from Rowan's POV, and he's at the last creators meeting, right, where they all share their ideas before Christmas break, and he's listening to everything that's happening. And Zara goes up there and she gives her last presentation, and she says, Dreamland isn't only made for the more privileged who can afford a quick skip passes, which is like the quick pass. Sorry. The amount of like ripoff from Disney kills me so much. Quick skip passes, $100 entrance tickets, and overpriced food and drinks. It's made for the able-bodied, for those kids who were born with a leg up, no pun intended. So my idea is to change the very foundation of the park and shift the way that we view our guests. So Zara's final presentation to the group is to make it more accessible in general. All I can do is stare in silence as she goes through the various slides covering different ideas, from wheelchair costumes to sensory hours for children with autism. Zara meets the demands of children and adults alike who are often overlooked at Dreamland. She delivers all the content with the biggest smile on her face. The more she talks, the stronger the longing grows in my chest. So at the end of her presentation, though, after all of this, the self-awareness of him realizing, oh my God, everything she's saying is so true. Yeah, I should not be a total piece of shit. I guess would be like the lead manager person who's like, in charge of this meeting, makes a comment about how Zara is going. She's like, oh my God, Zara, this is such a good idea. I'm so sad that we're going to lose you after the holidays. Rowan says, hello? What do you mean lose her after the holidays? And he learns that Zara has put in her 2 weeks. And so, yet again, the meeting comes to an end and he dismisses everybody and he says, Zara, stay back. So she does. And he's like, what do you mean you're going to put in your 2 weeks? And so she confronts him and she says, and she's like, I can't believe that you would try to have a relationship with me. You would try to seduce me into XYZ so that I would vote for you for this board committee meeting thing by your grandpa. That's so effed up. I never knew that you were chosen for the vote. And what, I'm supposed to believe anything that comes out of your mouth? All you've ever done is lie to me or tell me half truths ever since we've met. Chapter pretty much ends with her the finality of her ending their relationship, because not only has he lied to her and kind of been a piece of crap, but in her opinion and from what she has seen from the letter from the grandpa is that he has only ever befriended her to get her vote, to support his plans to change Dreamland, because if his plans get approved, he gets that whole 18% of the, whatever the stake, which again, by the way, is a couple billion. And so she's like, yeah, you're literally using me right now to benefit yourself. Cut to chapter 48. Rowan goes back to Chicago and he is confronting his father. I don't know why. He shows up at his father's doorstep and he says, "Hey, do you think that mom would be proud of the man that you are today?" Dad, a little caught off guard, he says, "No, I don't. Because I was an angry, pathetic man who wanted to drown everyone in my grief so that they could feel hurt like I did." Oh. Sorry. It's not funny. It's literally not funny. But Rowan says, "Oh, I was not expecting that response, Dad." So knowing that, I guess, knowing that you became the man that you were, knowing that you would be a disappointment to mom today, would you do all of this over again? Like, do you regret falling in love with my mother? The dad says, "No. You'll learn that the best rewards come with the biggest consequences because nothing that great comes without making any sacrifices." Rowan comes to the realization that love is worth it and you should power through anything because love is great and changes you as a person. Even if it means that love changes you into an abusive piece of shit to your children, I don't think... This is, again, me personally, and maybe this is the altruist in me, and altruist in me. No. After he confronts his father about all of this, and his father gives this, like, feedback, he's realizing, wait, if my father is willing to, relive all of this, go through all of these negative emotions just so he could have my mother again, then maybe true love is real. Maybe love is a real thing that I should pursue. In chapter 49, from Zara's perspective, she shows up to the board meeting. When she does, Martha is there, the secretary. The secretary, Martha, has been a part of this entire thing, and, she's the one with the busted ankle, the one that Rowan gave the money to. She was the previous secretary to the grandpa. She's also a board member or a committee member or whatever who's voting on this like final approval thing of Rowan's plan. If they approve it, he gets the 18%, right? All of these things. Okay, cool. Crazy reveal. The dad is there. Those two are there. There's a couple other workers and then like some normal board members who like Zara has seen, but she hasn't met personally. Okay. They all pile into this room and they listen to the presentation. Rowan walks in. He says, "My grandfather asked me to determine Dreamland's weaknesses and create something worthy of his legacy. Upon first inspection of the park, I had wondered what I could possibly do that hasn't already been thought of before. Dreamland, in many ways, is perfect." But he goes on to talk about how he's met a bunch of people. He got influenced by, obviously, Zara, interviewed a bunch of the actual workers, one of which he interviewed was named Ralph. Out of the 200 employees that I had interviewed, Ralph was the only person that said that it didn't matter. It being like raising the wages of the workers. So naturally, I asked him why that was, and he told me that he recently found out that he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and his health insurance couldn't cover that kind of treatment that he needs. There are hundreds of similar stories from people struggling to work 2 jobs to employees unable to afford appropriate healthcare procedures because of limited finances. No person should have to choose between supporting their family, putting their medical needs first. And again, I'm in a situation where I'm supposed to find that attractive. That this is what it took for a man to learn some empathy. Go take some ayahuasca and hit me back up. He presents his idea. Every survey that we've ever gotten has indicated that it's the employees that make everything great. And so we need to treat them right. We need to increase their benefits. We need to give them better health insurance. We need to increase their pay. Just like, again, such stupid shit that like I don't even want to go into detail with. But at the end of the briefing, Martha sits up and she says, "Hey, excuse me, you're the director right now, but you were only temporarily serving as such. And so what happens if we accept all of your plans now and then a new director comes in? Are they going to retroactively, are they going to take back everything that we agreed on? How can we ensure that the employees will continue to receive these benefits that you're promising? Zara is thinking, damn, Martha, sheath those claws. And he says, another good question. The employees of Dreamland will be my utmost priority, given the fact that I plan on remaining here, serving as the director for as long as they will have me. Oh my God, he's gonna stay. He's gonna stay at Dreamland to be with Zara. He's not gonna go back to Chicago. Okay, cool. The dad has some pushback, understandably, and he's like, why should I vote yes and approve your plans when I can vote no and take your $25 billion? Homegirl, Zara says $25 billion? I croak, because she had no idea. She knew that there was like something to gain from him, approving this or like winning this whole vote thing. She did not realize her voting yes on this would mean that he got 25 million freaking dollars, that 18% of the company was $25 billion. Okay, cool. He goes on to justify it because he's like, yes, you should give me this money because I'm going to reinvest it in our employees. Based on the surveys from the customers, the number one thing is the employees. So if we invest in them, we increase all of these benefits, we give them 50% raise, we give them health insurance, we give them blah, 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 everything will be better. So like, you're just investing back into the company. It's fine. Okay, good answer. Martha follows up with like another question, and she says, I would like some clarification on something. Yes, Rowan asks. I'm interested in hearing about your plans for employees with disabilities. For the first time during the entire presentation, Rowan's cool exterior cracks. He blinks at Martha, who sports a mischievous smile. I thought you were on his side. I lean in and whisper in her ear. I am. She winks. There's one thing left that he hasn't covered. Okay. I don't know why this just made me burst into tears. Rowan clears his throat and clicks through so many slides that I become dizzy at the motion. He stops on a slide that has my breath catch because unlike Ralph's slide, the previous employee who had the cancer thing, in that photo he was posed with the grandfather and it was like sentimental, whatever. So unlike this slide, this one has a picture of Ani, my beautiful larger-than-life sister who has her arm wrapped around JP, her boyfriend's shoulders. Rowan goes on, this is Ani. She's one of our youngest employees who happens to come from a family of Dreamland workers. I was partnered with her for a pilot mentorship program. She quickly schooled me in all things Dreamland, including our lack of diversity in the hiring process. And so he goes on to like speak about how he's going to better this program and this process and this pilot thing, and how they're going to like integrate more and more people with visible and invisible disabilities, in addition to obviously all of the other things that he has brought up. It's beautiful, it's cute, it's sentimental, it's again, we're teaching a billionaire empathy. At the very end of this, everybody makes their votes on whether or not they approve or disapprove his investment into Dreamland to make it a better place. They make their votes, they step out of the room, one of the board members or the whoever the fuck, they collect the votes. She stands outside of the door because she's waiting, and she's waiting for the father, waiting. Eventually he steps out and she says, Mr. Kane? Yes. I wanted to say that although you might be considered a good businessman, you've done it at the expense of being a terrible, verbally abusive father. And one day you're going to look back on your life and you're going to regret the way that you treated your children. And I hope it hurts you as much as you hurt them. So fuck you and off. I swivel on my heel and I catch Martha staring at me with a big grin and a thumbs up. I'm sure to blow her a kiss on my way out the door while using my other hand to give Seth Kane the middle finger. There's no other way that I would want to spend the rest of my official last workday at Dreamland. If you're not visual, I just like flipped my hair a million times because I feel like that's what she just walked out as. It was like so dramatic and stupid and like cheesy, and I hate it here, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I hate it here so much. And so chapter 50, we literally have 2 chapters left. In chapter 50, Rowan's POV, he's waiting for the results from the committee, like from the board, whatever, to make the votes. As he's sitting in his office waiting, his dad comes in, and he says, "I'm proud of you, son. You did good. Your grandfather would be proud." And then walks away before Rowan can say anything in response. And so Rowan realizes, okay, if my dad said that, then obviously he voted for me and my dad's proud of me as well. And this is a good sign. It got approved. Shortly after his dad leaves, the attorney comes in. He verifies that this is what the board had offered or the board approved of. And, validates, like, this is the conditions of your grandfather's terms. Congratulations, you'll receive your 18%, sign on the dotted line. Everything is good to go. He gets out of the meeting. He texts Zara. He says, "Baby girl." He says, "Hey, you want to come back to my place?" Sorry, it's not even like that. He says, "Hey, I'm so sorry for everything that happened. Will you please come to my place? Let me apologize. Let me explain." At the end of chapter 50, she shows up at his house. He confesses how he feels about her. He explains why he made the choices that he made. Again, we have some more info dumping. Nothing more than I've explained to you previously because, again, this is a 450-page novel that could have been summarized in 300. It's so repetitive. And he's like, "Yeah, I went through all these things, blah, blah, blah." She says, "Oh my God, I love you so much. I'm so sorry." And they like start making out and they make love. Chapter 51 is literally just them banging. In this particular one, they talk about birth control, and it's, I don't know, something about trusting because he doesn't wear like a condom this time. And she's like, "Don't worry, baby, I'm on birth control. Like, I'm, taking the pill." And so he doesn't wear protection on his end. And that means that he really, really trusts her. And, I don't know, whatever. It's supposed to be a hot, I guess, or like significant. It is significant, don't get me wrong, but you know what I'm saying. It's supposed to be like attractive. Afterwards, she admits that she, told his father to F off and how bad he was, and that makes him laugh out loud. At the very, very end of the book, and this pissed me off actually. Yeah, I think this is supposed to be hot, and instead it just made me mad. She's like, hold on, where did this go? She reveals about everything that she said to the father. Oh, and he's like, and that he didn't say anything. And she says, "No, I think he knew that I was going to quit. Why would he say anything? It's not like he could fire me." He says, "I doubt that. I didn't let Jenny file your notice, so you're still considered an employee in every way that counts." What? "I couldn't let you go," Rowan said. "Yeah, well, you can't hold my notice hostage because you felt like it. That's illegal." Because again, she submitted her 2 weeks notice however many days ago at this point. It's literally supposed to be her last day, any day now. He shrugs. "According to your contract, I can do exactly that until you complete an exit interview with me. That's why you always check the fine print." My lips gape apart. I thought I wasn't special enough for fine print. "You're so damn special to me that I don't plan on letting anyone in your vicinity who isn't family or female." Ew! I roll my eyes. "You're too possessive even for your own good." And then they start banging again. His love is something a girl could get addicted to, so it's a good thing I have the rest of forever to love him back. And that's how the book ends. And it goes into an epilogue. You can guess what happens. They like marry each other a year later and get pregnant or something. And then 3 years later, they're opening her proposed idea. They like change the Nebula land or something from Lance's proposal. They like make it hers officially, which like I want to revisit because in the original read through I didn't really understand what the significance was. The significance was she admitted that or submitted that proposal 3 years ago. The grandpa responded. They had been working on it. That's why she was so close to the grandpa. Grandpa falls into a coma in the middle of like working on this proposal for her and giving her feedback, and him talking to her consistently and realizing this is what like passion or love or something for all of this really is, falls into the coma. A couple months later, while he's in the coma for years and years and time passes, her like abusive shitty boyfriend submits or resubmits the plan with some additional changes, and it gets approved, but because the grandpa's in the coma, he can't approve it. So Lance's thing gets, or not even Lance, whoever stole Lance, I don't fucking know, gets approved, and it goes down XYZ. And so the grandpa's thing eventually gets revealed through I don't know. It's literally so stupid. All of this is so stupid. This felt like such a waste of time. It had so much potential. It was so cute. It literally could have been something, but it felt so repetitive and so shallow and so contrived that it like literally all it did was piss me off. But it could have been great. And I feel like I say that so much about all of these books, but I don't know, dude. Or this is why I feel like I don't read traditional romance, because it's always the same thing. It's just some annoying man being annoying. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you made it to the end. I appreciate you so much. You guys are all phenomenal and great, and I don't think I really have anything else to say. Like I said in the beginning, make sure you check out the description box below for the Spotify and Apple links, and Etsy if you want to get some stickers. I think I also have a link down there for recommendations. If you have any like book recommendations or requests or whatever that I cover on this channel, always looking for some input in that regard. I have literally no idea what I'm going to cover next week. We'll see. I guess you'll know by the time this video goes up. I'll have some poll up, so you'll be able to vote on it. So make sure you go to the posts tab on my profile to vote on what I cover next. Like I said, I'll cover the selection series, or at least the first book in the selection series eventually. I don't know when that'll be, but it'll be sometime. So I'll cover that. And yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.